Welcome, welcome, welcome. You guys already know I'm on the block with Jen everywhere on social media, TikTok, Instagram, on the block with Jen at Gmail. If you want to collab with me, if you want to give me a topic, a show idea, something you want to talk to me about behind the scenes, I am on the block with Jen at Gmail. Also, if you want to support the show and help Mama keep the church lights on, because we're about to have church in here tonight, or maybe the anti-church. I don't know how you want to describe it tonight. Tonight's gonna be interesting. Okay. On the block with Jen, a Cash App if you want to do that, or you could super chat me. For those of you who've been under a rock and don't know how to super chat, it is the $ on the bottom right of your chat box. You know where you go to type in your shit and your arguments and your rebuttals and your retorts and your bullshit. You know where you go type all that shit in so I could read it and put it up on the panel. There's a little $ on the right. You could hit that and send me some money. I don't read $2 super chats, FYI. I will look at it. I will acknowledge it. But unless it's mind-blowing, I don't put it on my screen for $2. So like Necessary Evil is saying, hit that like and subscribe on your way in. If you are catching the replay with your late butt, hello, I promise I am so exciting. It'll be like you're watching it live, even though you're not. But I would have preferred you would have been here live. But it's okay because I'll be live every day. All right. So you could catch the next one. So from the bottom of my little, tiny little heart of coal, my little cold heart, thank you for being here. Thank you for supporting the show in whatever capacity that you do. I appreciate you. Okay. So let's get some things out the way because I really want to dive into this, right? And the topic tonight is the lucrative business of religion and its customer base. With that said, for all you Christians, I know every time you hear somebody talking about religion, for some strange, obnoxious reason, you think that the person is talking about you because you think Christianity is the only religion on the face of the earth. It is not. Today is a broad, discussion on religion in general. It's not just about Christianity. It's not just about the Nation of Islam. It's not just about, Baptist, Pentecostal, Catholic, Muslim. It is across the board, the lucrative business of religion and its customer base, specifically in this country, because I'm a believer that in other countries, the religions that are practiced here are not practiced in the same way in other countries. And some people may get mad at me, but I feel like religions in other countries are practiced more genuinely than they are in America. I feel like we live in a capitalist society, and I think the religions here in this country are money-based, right? How much money can the pastor or the preacher or the leader or the minister get in this country? Where in other countries, again, guys, I'm here to learn. We don't have, or they don't have, not we, but they don't have the flamboyant, gigantic, glittery Cadillac pushing, preachers, pastors, ministers, and what have you, right? There's not a God at the top. It's everybody practicing their religion and what they believe and what have you. But I don't know of any, pretty much, unless you're talking about the Pope, I don't really know of religions outside of the country where there's just God that, pulls up in Louis and has a private jet and the mistress and in the pulpit and all that type of shit. Seems like in America, the religions are practiced a little different. Now, you may know more than me, and hopefully you do. That way you could teach Mama, right? Because Mama doesn't know everything. I know what I know, but I don't know everything. So I wanted to talk about that tonight. It's a very, very, very lucrative business. And if you think I am lying, let me pull up some numbers for you. This was very interesting to me. One second. So I thought this list was interesting, right? I just threw in, to Google. I don't have Siri. I just throw it into Google. List of wealthiest religious organizations, right? And I want you to throw in the chat or come up on a panel. I'm gonna drop the link early. You let me know where you think they got this money from. Okay. So here's the list of wealthiest religious organizations. And by the way, sorry to disappoint, but Christianity ain't even on this bitch, okay? So the richest, wealthiest religions, we have Greek Orthodox Church, which is worth $700 billion. The Holy See, the Vatican, says not applicable. Therefore, the Vatican doesn't even want you to know how much money they making. Okay, the Vatican is like zipped lips, honey. Fuck all that. If you think that we're gonna tell you how much we make. The Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints is 100 billion. The Catholic Church in Germany is 26 billion. Catholic Church in France is 23 billion. Catholic Church in Australia, 20 billion. Seventh-day Adventist, 15 billion. Church of England, 11 billion. Church of Sweden, 11 billion. Trinity Church, 6 billion. Opus Dei Catholic Church, 2 billion. And the Church of Scientology, $2 billion. Okay, $2 billion, Church of Scientology. So Christianity isn't even on that bitch, although they've been robbing us in our communities forever. They're not on the list of wealthiest religious organizations. Now that could be a race thing, right? That could be a race thing, or they don't make as much money as the other ones. The reason why I say it's a race thing is because Google is funny. It doesn't matter what you Google. You can Google woman in glasses and white women will come up. There are no Latins. There are no black people that come. It could be the craziest thing. A child holding bottle. Trust me, Google this shit. Child holding bottle. It'll be nothing but white kids holding bottles. Man chopping down tree. It'll be nothing but white men. So it's hard to throw something into Google and it just like looks at all of us. Like if you ask something from Google, they usually just give you the white person doing it. So on this list of wealthiest religious organizations, is it because Google is used to just giving you all the white people, or is this the actual literal list? How much money does Christianity make? Yo no sé. I know Haran throws that number around, but I forgot what it was. So when he comes up, he will let us know. Thank you for the first super chat of the night. Joanna Washington says, hi, Jen. Of course, religion uses fear. Religion is from man. Religion is about control. Spirituality is about consciousness and of the creator. By the way, I used to be an atheist. I got $10 for you, though. Thank you, Joanna. I am a current atheist. I would love to hear your story. How does one go from atheism to religion? Now, I understand how people go from religion to atheism, but how does it work the other way around? Like, how do you not believe? And then it's like, oh shit, I want to believe now. That's very, very interesting. What's up, Alonzo Hall, the All-Star Advisor? I was thinking about you the other day randomly. I don't know why. Don't ask me why, but salute to you, sir. I need to have you up here one day so you can talk to people about money. Alonzo Hall, the All-Star Advisor, says they give up their hair in India for God, yet the guys take their hair and monetize it here in the USA while they live in a caste system in India, and the donors live in poverty. Well, hot damn. Do the women, here's my question, do the women, whether they're rich or not, will they give up their hair anyway for their religion? Because if they do, then it doesn't really matter what they do with their hair, does it? Just a question. If they're giving up their hair anyway for religious reasons and they're going to throw it in the trash or put it at the temple, does it matter that they're not monetizing their own hair because they're not cutting their hair off for money? They're cutting their hair off for their God, right? So I would think if you're doing something for God, you don't care about money, which brings us back to my topic tonight, where the people at the top of the totem pole of religion are making all the money, though they say they're doing it for a God or some sort of deity, right? But when you look at the preachers and the ministers, right, and or the Pope, they're making all the money, yet they say they're doing it for God. Now, I had someone tell me, well, of course, the minister or the preacher's not, they have work to do. They're not going to do it for free, right? And that's how they rationalize why the man on top gets all the money. And it's usually a man, right? So I want to get into this. Okay, Alonzo says the guys who are monetizing the hair created the God and the ritual. Well, when did they create that? Haven't those Indian women been cutting their hairs off forever? Or they just started cutting it off when, you know, all the strippers in America wanted to have hair down to their ass? Like, when did that ritual start? Was that ritual literally, did it literally begin so those men can make money because they knew people in America and worldwide wanted wigs? Like, what gave them the idea to have those women cut their hair? That's a whole man-made thing, or is it, complete religion? I'm trying to understand. I'm trying to understand. All right, guys. So let me tell you why. That's a good point. Necessary evil, watered down faith. Is the faith here in comparison to other countries? Is it watered down? Because there are Muslims in other countries that scoff at the Nation of Islam. Yet the Nation of Islam says, well, we're Muslim too. And then there's some Muslims that say, no, the fuck you are not. You are the watered down version of who we are. So in America, once you insert money, does faith and religion here get watered down? Does it become a money maker here? And are they using fear, right, to get your dollars? Are they promising hope? Are they promising an afterlife? Are they peddling salvation? Okay. Are they peddling salvation? I have a note here about why I'm bringing up this topic at all. And please, if you're religious, by all means, come on up. The atheist will not, although I have my flames on today, how apropos, the atheist does not bite, okay? So feel free to come up with your God, your Jesus, whoever it is you pray to, the rock on the corner. Come up and tell me your version, right? And I will give you mine. Alonzo says, not 1,000% sure, but it was chronicled in Chris Rock's movie, Good Hair. I did see that movie halfway. I didn't see the whole thing. So on the heels of Kirstie Alley's death, and Kirstie Alley is a comedic actress. Some of you may know her, some of you may not, depending on your age. But she was, a star actress in the series sitcom Cheers. She went on to do some films after that and some other sitcoms, but you know what I mean? In my opinion, Kirstie Alley is synonymous to Cheers. I know she's done a lot of other stuff. I know you're probably going to throw it in the chat, but I know Kirstie Alley from Cheers. Now, Kirstie Alley was a devout Scientologist, right? She just recently died of cancer, literally this week, meaning recently she just died of cancer. So the Twitter went up in flames, and this is what they had to say about her connection to Scientology and her death. And I found this very interesting because I've had my own personal experience with Scientology. Did I practice? No. But I was close to someone who did. I did not. Even if I wasn't to religion, Scientology is a little too rich for my taste. Speaking of lucrative, right? Lucrative religions. So I thought this was interesting. I do remember hearing that Kirstie was a Scientologist. But, I don't really care for Kirstie Alley. I mean, she rests in peace, but I didn't really care for her enough to like, oh, let me find out her connection to Scientology. I just heard it around the way. So Twitter started tweeting about her death and her connection to Scientology. And one of the reoccurring sentiments was this comment that I have here, this tweet rather. One of the promises that Scientology explicitly makes to members on paper is if you reach the upper levels of Scientology, you won't get cancer. Kirstie Alley and Kelly Preston, two dedicated Scientologists, have both died of cancer. Now, this sentiment was trending on Twitter. Everyone kept saying, like, how did she die of cancer when she was, the higher echelon of Scientology? Why didn't Scientology prevent this cancer? Now, I don't know about you, but is that unrealistic? First and foremost, how the fuck can a religion, and you paying a religion money, how can they prevent your cancer? I think it's a little silly. I think it's exaggerated. I think people get cancer no matter what fucking religion they're in. But a lot of people were talking about how Scientology is very expensive. I know it's very expensive. I was in a relationship with someone who was into Scientology. When I tell you, he's one of the most, no lie, one of the most psychotic people I've ever met and had interactions with. Like, he checks all the boxes. He was a Scientologist, very expensive. And I found this interesting because he was deathly afraid of cancer. His mother had died of cancer. He was deathly afraid of cancer, to the point where he did coffee enemas more than 2, sometimes 3 times a day. He gave me one too, because I was curious. I was like, what the fuck is the coffee enema for? He was like, oh, it prevents cancer because it cleans out your gut. And I'm game for anything. I'll try anything once, twice if I like it. So I was like, all right, what's this enema thing? So he literally puts like this water bag and this little this little tube, and they stick it in your ass, and it shoots coffee. It has to be organic coffee from Whole Foods, and they shoot it in your ass, right? And then they unplug you, so to speak, and then you sit there, and then your gut bubbles. And then you have to go release every demon that was in your intestine from everything you fucking ate, right? Now, on the way out, it does feel kind of good, right? I did. I said, hey, can you do, you know what I mean? We were in a relationship. I was like, I want the enema too, right? You too, me too. So it feels good, like it's cleaning out your system. But I was like, okay, once or twice is cool. But he was obsessive with fucking coffee enemas because he didn't want to die of cancer like his mother. He was a devout Scientologist. He was just like stuck on this cancer thing. He was obsessed with, I don't want to get cancer. My mother died of cancer. He had books and books and books on cancer, and he was always studying cancer. And then he used to drink orange juice, but then he didn't drink orange juice anymore because orange juice gave you cancer, and watching TV gave you cancer. Just pretty obsessive about cancer. So I found it was a little eyebrow raising when I saw that Scientology, when you're paying the big bucks, they promise you on paper you will not get cancer. And it made me have a flashback to one of my exes. I'm like, I remember that fucking psycho was obsessed with not getting cancer. Maybe that's why he was a devout Scientologist. Yo no sé, right? But I was like, oh, 1 + 1 = 2. Get it, got it, I'm gone. What's up, Chocolate Earth? Chocolate Earth says, and even before that, churches for tax by the government or kingdom. This was probably in the 1400s in the European ideal of religion, tithing, so to speak. Okay. Believe in God, but learning as Black man in 21st century global system. Cough, cough. Joanna says, I used to watch Cheers with my dad when I was a teen. Rest in peace, Kirstie Alley. Indeed. So what do you guys think of? I am going to drop the I'll drop the link early. Again, we know that the church makes, I don't know, I forgot what Haran said, and he's not here. But I forgot how much he says it makes annually, and I don't feel like Googling it right now. But anywho, I wanted to get into this, the lucrative business of religion and its customer base. Who is the customer base? And why is the guy on top always so much more wealthy than the followers, than the congregation? And with that said, although a lot of people are pissed on Twitter about why didn't Scientology fix Kirstie Alley and her cancer, can we really be mad, right? Remember this saying, you like it, I love it. You like it, I love it. If someone wants to work and give their hard-earned pennies, or like Alonzo pointed out, their hard-earned grown hair, right, to a certain religion, how can we get mad, right? We know Leah Remini, the actress who was a devout Scientologist. She was at the top of the top, right? She quit Scientology, and then she started a fucking crusade, a witch hunt, a one-woman witch hunt against Scientology. She's had specials on the A&E network. She's coming back with part 2. She's like, I'm gonna prove this is a cult. L. Ron Hubbard was full of shit. David Miscavige, he's fucking full of shit. He kidnapped his wife, right? While she was in there, she loved it. It was all good. And then she figured, oh shit, I don't like this anymore. And now she's out. But here's my thing with religion, right? Whether it's a cult or not, whether it's robbing people blind or not, if they like it, we got to love it. No, like if they like it, if they want to give their money to it, if they want to give their shekels, their coins, their hard-earned dollar bills, if they want to give up their money, not only their money, but their time, right? Can we really get mad? Like, why would we be mad that the church is robbing the community if the community is volunteering? Can we stop that? Right? I'm going to drop I see Haran. Oh shit. Okay. Interesting, Haran. Haran said the black church accumulates $11 billion a year, and it wasn't on my list. But again, my list came from Google, which took me to Wikipedia, and they didn't mention the black church at all. And I find that curious. I mean, they didn't mention the black church at all. But again, the internet's a racist too. So I don't expect them to cater to the color folk. They ain't gonna cater to us. Um, so Haran says the black church accumulates $11 billion a year. That's a lot of moolah. And the richest one here, or the wealthiest, says Greek Orthodox Church, $700 billion. Where does that money come from? Where does that money come from? Where do these billions of dollars come from? Speaking of the black church, $11 billion a year. Where does that money come from? Does it come from the average working person sitting there? Yes, Lord. And the tithing? Does that accumulate to $11 billion a year? And I have a theory about preachers and ministers, and I have my own theory, and I guarantee you guys are going to disagree. You're going to disagree, and that's okay. But I have my own theory after reading a very specific book called Imagine There's No Heaven. And they explained how there's no way, and I spoke about this before, that you could serve two masters, right? Either you want to get wealthy, or you are humble and you want to serve a higher being, right? There's humility in serving a higher being and serving other people, right? So how can you serve two masters? How can you want to get filthy rich and still play the, no, I'm here for my people and I'm here to save my people, yet you're not sharing that wealth? You're not sharing that wealth. You're the one pulling up in the Cadillac. You're the one sitting in the mansion, right? I see Joanna backstage. Hi, Joanna.
Hey.
I can hear you fine.
Because that's important.
It is very, especially here.
Yes, ma'am. How are you?
I'm really good, thank you. I'm feeling good today. I saw the Kirstie Alley thing buzzing, and I'm like, it raised an eyebrow. I was like, Scientology does that? Like they promise you don't get cancer? I found that interesting. But Twitter says, yay, it is so. The lucrative business of religion and its customer base. What are we talking about here? Why are the people at the top of religion so fucking wealthy? And that's all.
Well, it was. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I just wanted to say that's all the religions. I know some of them try to act more holier than thou, more humble than thou, but in this country, every religion has a guy on top, and he has all the money.
Well, that's correct because religion was designed by men who wanted to conquer and control.
Oh.
Yes, ma'am. It really has nothing to do with a concept of a higher power. That's something that kind of came later. The etymology of the word, in fact, of religion means to, for instance, re means to go back, to do again. And religion, then the religion part or livier is about to bind, to go back and bind. When people were conquering one another, they would take over the peoples whom they conquered, their culture. They would possess the other person's culture, and they would place another culture upon those they conquered, another mindset, another ideology, to realign, to bind. That's where the word religion comes from. So it really doesn't have anything to do with so much as a concept of a higher power. Those things came later, as language changed and was redefined. That's why I don't consider myself a religious person.
Mm-hmm.
And even some places in scripture, it speaks on being too religious as a negative.
Mm.
There's really nothing really great about being religious,
Mm.
but but so-called religious people have been miseducated to believe or understand or to know what it really is about. For instance, the word spirit, the
Mm-hmm.
etymology of that word means breath, to breathe.
Mm-hmm.
The concept of that is that the creator um, um, breathed life into the human beings.
Mm-hmm.
And so spirituality is about the transference of consciousness or breath of the creator. And I don't use the word God here, I say creator for a specific purpose.
Mm-hmm.
The breath of the creator into us, which means that we are the same as the creator. The word God is also misused or misunderstood. The etymology of that is a Germanic, um, High German word. And see, here's the problem with these etymologies and these different words. They don't really translate very well into our language. It means the word God means to pour out, or to invoke. It really doesn't have a whole lot to do also with a higher power.
Mm-hmm.
So we kind of, it's very difficult to have these conversations with our limited understanding of the meanings and the origins of these words. To really speak truthfully about them, you have to know what the words mean. So, but I agree. This is why I'm not religious, and this is why I used to classify myself as an atheist.
Mm-hmm.
Because, like you, I didn't agree with a lot of the what we would call degeneracy, or the hypocrisy, the exploitation of the people who put religion upon the people.
Mm-hmm.
And so it had nothing to do with consciousness. It had nothing to do with spirit. It has everything to do with control, or to bind people, to bind them, to realign them under whomever was the conqueror. And so I used to be an atheist because I didn't like the way money was used to get people you know, to believe that that's what they needed to do, to give their money away
Mm-hmm.
in order to be be closer to the higher power.
Mm-hmm.
So, but as I grew older and I read more, I recognized that I had been miseducated. And just because um, I was miseducated, it was my responsibility to re educate myself. And when I re educated myself, I recognized that I am spirit, and that has nothing to do with religion. And I know that um, I do come from a higher power. I know that I am the same as that higher power, and that has nothing to do with religion. And I hope I didn't take too long to explain that, but please ask me as many questions, and I love to hear what everyone else has to say about it.
I do have some questions for you, but I'm going to pass the mic just to be fair. What's up, Chocolate Earth? What's up, Haran?
Peace. What's going on?
Hey, hey.
What's going on? So let's go in order. I will get back to Joanna because I do have some questions. She said a lot of interesting things. Ladies first, Haran. So I want to hear what Chocolate Earth has to say before I pass the
Absolutely.
mic to you.
Well, I appreciate that. Appreciate y'all. Great.
Great topic. It's one of my favorites that
Uh-oh.
I've gotten in trouble many times because it's one of my favorite topics. Yes, but religion, I'll simply just start by saying this. Religion in America has changed, of course, because when we talk about the Black church, when we talk about the first churches, the first Black churches or brown churches of early America, it was poor. Um, it was strictly just about the fellowship part of
Mhm.
it. But
Mhm.
as centuries have taken place, we've, certain laws have allowed certain things. And now we've had for the last 60 years, 60, 70 years, prosperity preaching, which is all about making money.
Mhm.
Now, that doesn't mean that they give the money. They just said making it. Because unless you work for the church, you're not getting any of the money that's coming in.
Mhm.
It's ridiculous. There should be no homelessness. There should be no elderly people out here hungry. There should be none of those things. And people go for the fellowship, the connection. Outside of it, no. It has no serious value because it's nothing of what the book that they throw at you.
Right.
They pick and choose all day. And then how is this the same God that you saying that a Black church and a white church is preaching out of, yet God don't like Mexicans or Black people, or they don't like people of different sexual orientation. They don't like, nothing is okay. Single women, single mothers, like you could just go down the list.
Mhm.
This was the same book that was used for witches.
Mm.
You was a witch. You know what I mean? So I personally know, being that I was raised in the church, so this doesn't come from just a place of, oh, I don't like it. It was just a place of truth. It didn't make sense. It's like, for instance, I would ask the question, speaking in tongues, wouldn't that mean that we're able to speak in other languages, that what we hear would be able to transcend all languages?
Mhm.
Or you're able to speak all these particular languages? I was kicked out of Sunday school for these questions because I wanted to know. Halamashunda is still not a word. Like, I've been looking for it. Like, I hear it, pastors say it. Halamashunda is not. I don't know if it's a word. And I mean, I know it's not like I'm trying to be funny, but it truly has always been on. Like, why are we saying Halamashunda? Because I don't know who remembers growing up with the TV evangelist or
Right.
televangelist, right?
Uh-huh.
Or one of my favorites is former minister something Popoff, because he had the water. You
Wasn't
could
it
he
Peter?
What was his name? I'm sorry.
Wasn't it Peter Papa? Was it Peter?
Yes, right. So you can order this, get you some water.
My mother bought it, okay?
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. But the truth remains, listen, my sister, she was into, what's the dude's name? What was his name? Not Creflo Dollar. No, not Creflo Dollar. He my favorite. He funny to me. But no, there was my yes, Joel Osteen. Oh my
Oh,
gosh, I'll never forget it. Her and I got into an argument about this because I told her, I was like, okay, I can't trust his hair, let alone anything else he say. And I was like, oh, so you believe what he's saying is true? You believe that if you do what he said, this prosperity preaching? And she's like, well, I don't believe in that. I said, well, then why are you tuning in to this man every Sunday if you don't believe in the prosperity? See what I'm saying? Like, it's like that argument, separate the art from the artist. No, let's stop doing that. He's
right,
full of it,
right.
and that is what it is. So I'm passing the mic.
Yeah.
But yes, that's how I feel about that.
Yeah, I don't ever I know that sounds cute, like you could separate the art from the artist, but I don't, because I think it's impossible. First of all, I'm an artist, I'm a writer. There isn't one thing, there isn't one piece of work that I've written that I didn't put how I think, who I am, what I want to be, what I want to do, what I've thought about, what I've fantasized about. Artists put their work into their art.
Exactly.
It is there, right? It may not be me. I may give the character another name. The character may be a man, but trust me, it came from my mind and how I think. And that's why, as an artist, I cannot say with a clear mind, well, you know, you got to separate the art from the artist. We are the art. We are the art. So I don't believe in that either. I'll pass the mic. What's up, No Saint? I'll pass the mic to Haran, but I did want to say I did read that book called Imagine There's No Heaven. And it's a pamphlet. It's not like a big book. But, you know, I just thought it was so interesting and eye-opening when it said most of the people that lead the mega churches and the, you know, the pastors, the preachers, and the ministers, they're atheists themselves in theory.
Yes.
In theory, they are also
right.
atheists because they don't, their higher power is not a God. Their higher power is money. And you can't serve
Exactly. And
so
them themselves.
Right. So I'll pass the mic to Haran. Haran, interesting. You said the Black church, $11 billion. They're not even on the Wikipedia list, but $11 billion is a lot of money.
Oh yeah, I personally had to research that, like really dig deep, because I've always wondered for years. I always wondered, as I see, you know, prosperity preaching, as I see so much money being accumulated, I said to myself, like, there has to be a number attached to this. There has to be these folks out here making some real money, and I don't see any of that said money being inserted into the community, you know. And the funny thing about it is that, uh, for instance, yesterday, I believe we were having this conversation, and I don't want to deter to that conversation, but I'm going to just use it for an example. We were demanding that, you know, I mean, there's a sect of black people that demanded that Deion Sanders essentially give his life and give his resources and give his money to the black community. However, we don't hold the black church to that same standard. And
come on, brother, speak it.
You know what I mean?
They're the ones promoting, offering you salvation.
And that's what I'm saying. You know what I mean? We let the black church get away with a lot of corruption. I mean, when it comes to,
come on, brother, speak it.
Seriously. I mean, there's all kinds of shit that goes on in the black church. The same pedophilia, the same, you know what I mean, rape, the same, you know what I mean, money laundering. All these things that we claim is outside of the church happens inside of the church. But anyway, I don't want to repeat a number of the points that the ladies made, because they were spot on with what they were saying. I will just basically say, you know what I mean, to be succinct, essentially, you know, religion is essentially, one can call it, institutionalized or organized spirituality, in a sense, for profit, with the intention being for profit. You know, you can be spiritual and not be religious, but 9 times out of 10, if you're a religious person, there's some air of spirituality involved that's almost even, what one can say, dogmatic. It's extremist. You know what I mean? There's just a lot of ideals where it's like, very cultish. You know what I mean? And there's nothing wrong with spirituality, personally. And you know, for the panel and anyone who in the chat, if they don't know, I identify as agnostic. I personally feel that if there is a God, mankind has absolutely no clue as to what that is, or, you know what I mean, what that could, you know, consists of. I don't think we've reached that degree of understanding and humility to understand the universe in that manner, you know, as of yet. And we also have to understand that all of this derives from, the core of a lot of this derives from philosophy. You know what I mean? Well, you know what I mean, when we really think about it. But I'll just pass it back from there.
Thank you for that point, Haran. I thought this was hilarious. I always had this question: what happened to people before religion? Did they go to hell? How are you, No Saint?
Hey, how you doing? How's everybody in the panel doing?
Really, really good.
Hey.
We're the atheist on the panel.
Yeah, so
Damien's not here. Damien's also an atheist. I wish he would come by.
And Ish needs to get up on here too.
Let me say something. If Is watching us, he's like, I ain't going up there. I ain't going up there. Not tonight.
You know, the way religion, and you said something earlier. You said, you know, Christianity and Islam are the two biggest intakes. So Black church falls under Christianity, Catholic church falls under Christianity, Orthodox Greek falls under Christianity, and they're bringing in the most money. Those two, and so then if you want,
you hear the numbers I read.
What's that?
Did you hear the numbers I
I
read?
did, and I understand. So I mean, you actually broke it down into different sects of Christianity. Some of it, you know, like Jehovah's. Well, I think you said well, the Mormon Church, I think, was in there.
Yeah,
and there's a few. Yeah, I heard in Scientology and all that good stuff. But it's the biggest legal scam ever, and they don't pay a tax dollar on that stuff. And so my pet peeve with religion. See, my sister is now I'm labeling her, my younger sister, a Christian nationalist because suddenly she got political. And it's all coming from that prosperity gospel, that whole they're starting to preach politics now in these churches, like who you need to vote for and who's the devil and who's against God. So they're playing that game. That's the you know, to me, you believe what you want, but I always say, like, people say, well, what's the problem if I believe? And, you know, if it's not true, what happens? But what's the big deal with me believing? I'm like, well, nothing's really a big deal with you believing until you bring it into my house. When I say my house, till you start voting on things that affect me because you're in this big group of people that think that the Bible or the Quran or whatever is telling you this is what you need to do. You're doing it for God. So now you're forcing your beliefs on me. I heard what Joanna said. The only thing I want to say about that, I mean, I get it. Like, I get, you know, words have different meanings at different times. You know, when people say God and people say religion, it has a meaning today too, though. So when you say, oh, he's religious, nobody's thinking, well, that person, what you were explaining earlier, I don't want to go into it because I don't want to say what you said. Although all those things you said, I didn't really look into it. I'm sure it's accurate. When people say God, we all know what they mean, you know, and they're not meaning the what it meant at one time. They're meaning what it means today. The other thing I'd have to challenge Joanna on, when she said she knows there's a higher power, I'm going to ask her, how do you know there's a higher power? I think that sounds like you believe there's a higher power, because I know no one, including myself, knows. So when Haran said he's an agnostic, I think we're pretty much all agnostic. I call myself an atheist just to say that I'm 99.9% I haven't seen any evidence that there is a God. So I'm just saying, there's probably not one. And, but I could say I'm an agnostic, because what if there is? I can't tell you there is. I can't tell you there isn't. But I'm pretty sure, I have a feeling, I believe there is not. Just like you say you believe, or you should say, I believe in a higher power. But you never should say you know, because I don't think anybody knows.
What's interesting, though, Saint, is that some people, they rationalize that question you just posed as, well, look, there's been times in my life that I thought blah, blah, blah. And the fact that didn't blah, blah, blah happen, that means there's a God. So in their minds, they think that good thing that happened is some sort of miracle. And that's how they rationalize. There is a God. You can, and we see it online all the time. You can't tell me there ain't no God. If something happens to them, they're like, look at God. That's the phrase. Look at God, right? So that's
Jen,
how they rationalize him existing.
It's crazy. So this past week, we had a rare double homicide in the town I live in. Not inside New Orleans, but the town I live in. And it was an ex-priest from a Catholic church. He was like 70 something, and another lady that was 70 something that got murdered, right? And so the Archdiocese from New Orleans is on the news, and I heard him say it twice. And I had a conversation with Erica. I'm like, he said, Well, people ask, where was Jesus in this moment? And I think Jesus was in that room and he was crying and saying no. And I looked at Eric and I'm like, wow. So, but we have free will. I'm like, man, they make Jesus sound so weak. He's in the corner crying, watching this guy get murdered. I'm like, it's crazy when you step away, because I was in a cult at one time. When you step away from religion, how you look at other people and you wonder, like, wow, they're in a trance because they believe this stuff. And it's just when you bring yourself out of it, and I don't want to offend anybody, I probably will. You see kind of how ridiculous it is, the whole belief system and the whole, these people wearing these, every religious group has some kind of weird outfit they wear too. Catholics, Hebrew Israelites, the bow ties for Ish's group. Yeah, it's just, it's bizarre when you step outside of it. You look at, man, we really do just get caught up in these fantasies.
Say it's funny, real quick, Karan, it's funny that you say they all have these different outfits, because that's how I view religion in general. It's like sports teams, right? And you pick your favorite team for whatever reason, right? If I ask somebody, why do you like the Raiders? They'll have a whole explanation. If I ask somebody, why are you a Christian as opposed to not being a Catholic, they'll have their own explanation. And then every team has a uniform, right? Jehovah's Witnesses dress a certain way. The Israelites dress a certain way. The NOI dresses a certain way. The Pentecostals, the skirt's got to be down to the ankles. So everybody has their uniform. And to me, it's just social clubs. And some of those social clubs are more expensive than others. But let's be clear, they're social clubs. That's how I view it. And I know people are going to be offended tonight, but it's okay, because they'll get over it and they're going to pray about it. And they're going to pray for me, and all's going to be well tomorrow. So back to you.
You don't want everybody praying. Oh, I'm so sorry.
No problem at all, sis. To speak to your point, Saint, the reason why you see all these uniforms, and yes, in sports you see the same thing. Well, this is really a component, and there's psychology behind this. The point is, the goal is uniformity. You know what I mean? It's really to psychologically condition you all to basically think in unison. This is one of the reasons why, when you go to, especially black churches, when you go to church, everyone sings together. Everyone sings in unison. Everyone pretty much does everything in unison. There's not a space for individuality in these spaces. If you're asked a question, you're asked to respond in unison. So individuality, yeah, they condition you and they squelch that shit from the moment you walk into the door, because they can, same shit. Yes, exactly. Twist the same shit. It's all a psychological. I often just call it a weapon. It's because it's weaponized often. It's often weaponized, and you see the same thing even in politics. You'll see it, whether they be Democrats, whether they be Republicans. They all look, dress, think, drive the same fucking car. All kinds of things, and so on and so forth. Mm-hmm. Right, exactly. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
They really look like some Power Rangers. That's crazy.
Thank you for the super chat, Afro Universe. Big supporter of On the Block with Jen. How are you, darling? I also want to say I'm probably I'm a Gnostic atheist.
We know.
I'm a Gnostic atheist. Like I'm real. Like I'm not on the spectrum. I'm not like, well, maybe there is, maybe there isn't, maybe I didn't know about. I'm just like, there isn't. Like, grow the fuck up. That's me, right? I want to welcome. Watch your mics, people. Watch your mics. I want to welcome Glenn Lawrence, the shirtless, topless Glenn Lawrence. There's an echo, Glenn.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I needed.
Fix your shit so you can say something, white man.
That's funny.
You back?
Can't hear you.
Can't hear you, sir. Chocolate, I'm always bothering our whiteys.
Wait a minute,
God doesn't want him.
listen to
God doesn't want him to speak.
That's funny.
God is preventing you from speaking, Glenn.
Don't be up here talking that
God
thievery and
did.
that heathenism. Stop it.
I want to say
All
this.
of you.
I want to say
Heathens.
Haran's point when Haran said, the whole thing about everybody doing things in unison and they don't preach individuality. But you notice the guy at the front of the church is an individual. Okay. He's very much
absolutely.
Look, all you blasphemous people need to
Do as
y'all
I say, not as
Oh,
I do, because I
this
am your
is
father. Ladies and gentlemen, I am your daddy. Listen to me. And that's the
Shout
problem.
out to TD Jakes.
Go ahead,
y'all a
Glenn.
bunch of blasphemous
if there's
people
a
here.
hell, I got a room for rent out there, so it's okay. So,
I
but
done already got a
uh,
ticket, so I'll see you there. Because I don't even know.
I pay a couple
Hey,
of
you
dollars a
guys want to
month.
know? You guys
Go
want to
ahead,
hear
Glenn.
something funny?
What's
Yeah.
up?
Want to hear something really funny? I
Yeah.
have a degree in religion.
Yes, I do
Like
know that.
I
We
have a
know.
bachelor's degree in
Hmm.
religious studies.
Why would
He
you
Yeah.
do
essentially
that?
is a
Well,
theologian.
Haran,
He's
you already
I
essentially a
know.
took a
theologian.
Haran, you already know. I already
I
talked to
took a
you.
Yeah,
class
he's
in
essentially a
religious
theologian.
studies.
No, that was my major. I majored in
That's
What
religious
made you
studies,
do
pretty. That's pretty
and
cool.
yeah, it was
Glenn,
just
what made you
what.
do that?
Well, the one thing that society has always, men have always fought for more than pussy was God. There have been more wars in the name of a
That is
god
true.
or gods than anything else. So I went in studying world religion, and then that was my minor, and then I end up, still being really intrigued in it, and I focused on, major religions, or the like Christianity, Muslim, or Islam, and Buddhism and all that stuff, but the major ones. And my focal point was Christianity and Catholicism, and understanding the difference between the two. So, and it's actually there's a lot more that separates Catholics and Christians than you would think. Like black people and white people are
Not
way more
really.
closer than Catholics and Muslims.
Not
Yeah,
really.
really.
I have to disagree with you, sir.
But you learned that in that one class that you took?
No, because I was in religion like the majority of my life. Like I went
Mm-hmm.
to Catholic church. My sister went to a Catholic elementary school. I was baptized. I was a Jehovah's Witness at one point. And these are my parents, by the way. This is my dad's doing. So it wasn't just me saying that off of one class or me trying to be funny. It's because I truly have experienced those differences. Like when you go into a Catholic church and what you're supposed to do is truly similar. Like they may have different practices in the sense, but the goal is the same. I'm going to control you. You're going to hell if you don't listen to what I'm saying. And I'm going to use the same book, but I'm going to interpret it in different ways so I can confuse you and say, oh, we're so much different than Christianity. But yet it was the Catholics who went to King James, who asked them, hey, can you please stop them from killing us? And can we kind of come up with something? And guess what? We'll give you a copy of your own Bible. You can get your name. This was branding before it was even an issue. So I just wanted to throw that in there, not just talking to be talking.
All right. So
Well, I
Glenn,
mean,
what
if
is
you actually looked at
Glenn,
it
what are
from
the
from a fundamental point between Catholics and Christianity, is that one, Catholicism worships idols. So from a very fundamental platform, from the very basics of Christianity, if you look at the 10 commandments, it says, first commandment is, thou shalt not worship any God but me. That means you can't pray to anybody other than him. You can't seek or worship or, idolize anybody but God. That's his first commandment. So when you have Catholicism, where you pray to Mary, you got to, you pray to the saints, and you pray to all these different entities, right? They're supposed to be spokesmen, and you pray to the angels and this and that. That is idolatry in the sense of, from the biblical standpoint, because you are praying to something other than God. So from a very fundamental standpoint, no, it is completely different. Although they may have the same understanding of who Jesus is, but their practices and the root of their thing of their belief system is fundamentally different on a core from the sense of,
But
this is idolatry, and then this is what is not idolatry.
we do still practice idolatry within Christianity. Like that's why you have so many different faiths within it. You have so many different ways. Like there are some Christians who believe in worshiping snakes. So that's idolatry. Like it's there. So I don't know. I mean, I don't know how many churches.
I don't
But
know
you can't say it's
what
not, because it is.
about.
It's true. There are plenty. That's what I'm saying. If
I
you
didn't
took,
say it's not. I said I have not
well,
I've never heard of any
no, what you
churches
said was
worshiping snakes.
fundamentally. You said
Yes,
fundamentally that they are not the same, but the core of them
they're
are the
not.
same. Yes, they are, because they are both worshiping idols. Mary, Joseph, Jesus, all of them are in the same the same characters are being played out to tell you a story, to assist you in believing that these are the reasons.
You're talking about, if you're talking about denominations within a Christian umbrella,
That's just another descriptor, though. That's just another descriptor word.
The Catholic Church is universally like that. There's no different Catholic church that doesn't pray to Mary or anything else. They all pray to Mary or anything else. You're pointing out small sects of Christianity that may be on
no,
the
they're not
group.
small sects, sir. These are things across the world globally that they do in Christianity.
They're not the major Christianity cultures.
Isn't praying to Jesus and wearing him on a chain and putting the cross on your, isn't
right?
Well,
yes, it's idol worship. When you have some churches who, okay,
it's not
you know better than sir.
Though it's not idol worship. It's actually stupidity, right? So the cross is like it's like wearing an electric chair. Who wants to wear an electric chair around their neck? Because that's exactly what it meant. Because it was a form of torture to death. It was an execution sign. So Christians rocking the cross, thinking it's cool. Like it's like, dude, you're literally wearing a chain of death on your neck. You know, it's stupid. To me, it's stupidity when I see people do that, because they don't understand what that really meant.
Timberlands.
Huh?
It looks cool with my Timberlands, though.
Well, I mean, it's cool, but do it too. But I think it's like literally wearing an execution thing. Like if you're looking at the imagery of what it means, you're wearing a symbol of death on your neck.
No, but my question was just simply, isn't that idolatry? Like, oh, Jesus on the cross and Jesus on the wall, and oh, let's pray to Jesus and the cross on the wall.
I mean, it's more of a, see, there's a difference between idolatry, because idolatry, so Jesus or God is a Trinity, right? If you understand what that means, they have the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. So in that sense, Jesus is God the Son, God is God the Father, and then the Holy Spirit is God the Holy Spirit, right? So they're three in one. So if you're praying to Jesus, then you are essentially praying to God, you know, because they're all one. But
well, what about the argument that they were saying Jesus was God for like the longest time? And then, the last question, and I apologize, I won't interrupt again, but the last question I have for you is, then if that's the case, then why is Catholicism looked at as the truest and oldest form of Christianity if they're so different?
Well, let me answer the first question. So, in the Bible, it is referenced, you know, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was the God, and God was with the Word, right? That was the reference to Genesis, to where God said he created man in our image. Well, he said our image in the Bible. So that means there had to be someone else there, correct? Like who would else be there but our? When you're saying our, that means more than one person is present. And that's referencing God, Jesus, and the Holy Spirit were there in the beginning. The beginning was the Word. The Word was with God, and God was the Word. So that in that theological breakdown of that passage, they're showing him as he was there, he was present in the beginning, he was the Word, because they end up calling him the Word when he was on earth. That was one of his pseudonyms. The many names of the like, they had to be like, theoretically there was like all these different prophecies that would have allegedly been fulfilled in his time on earth, and according to, you know, historical accounts, they claim that they all were. So, you know, that's kind of what it is. But the second one, why you said Catholicism being the oldest, and what was it, the truest church? Is that what you said?
The Catholics say, and it has been as far back before they, you know, you could go even far back before Catholicism, which was the other, like there were different religions even before Catholicism, but Catholicism is the first part of what we now call Christianity, because it wasn't called that. It was a break off of Catholicism. Catholicism was first. So how it can't be that different at its core if it's pulled from the same piece of like literally like the same piece of cloth. They just change the words. And to your point, and no disrespect, but what version of the Bible are you reading? Because there's been so many different ones saying totally different things in it, you know, in different eras of time during the Bible. It's been rewritten like how many times? Like it's one of the most overly translated books in the history of the world. Like it is, there are so many parts to it. There's still parts missing from it. Everybody doesn't have all the books of the Bible, so you can't even get the full story, so to speak. So that's why I said,
like, here's the question.
I mean, it is.
How do you know what's missing out of there? I'm just asking because, like, I don't even know whether anything's missing out of there or not.
Well, I'll give you an example. The Book of Mary is missing. The Book of Mary is missing. The Book of John is missing. I'm telling you what. Let me answer your question. Yes, sir. They're missing.
No, they're not missing. They actually have them.
Where are they?
They were never canonized. They were not canonized. And when
sir, they were canonized by the Catholic Church.
No, they were not.
We're gonna leave that right there.
You have to remember, where did the canonization take place?
I'm not even talking about that, sir. We talking about how religion, how can religion in the United States, and as we know globally, that it was received a certain type of way. Christianity, Catholicism were both used to colonize the Western, what we now know as Western society. We know this is true. We still live off the same value system from a book. No, it was the tool. It was the tool to use. They did it to their own people. That's why Europeans left America in the first place, to come to the United States, in quotation marks, for religious freedom, only to turn around and turn America into a not freedom religious country. Like that. That is their own history. And the one thing I will say, as a Black woman in this country, the one thing their public school system will do is teach their history. And this is their history. Like, I'm not making this up. And Catholicism was a part of it, because they would use that. That was the Crusades. That was all of those different things that they kind of dance around and kind of pick from instead of telling the truth. They wanted power. They got it.
You're missing some facts here, and you're inflating some things, because
no, I'm not missing. I'm not missing any facts, sir.
Well, if I let you talk, so let me finish. The canonization of a Bible, like the Bible, how it got canonized.
I'm not even talking about that, sir. I'm not even there.
Hold on. But if you said the Book of Mary was canonized, which it's not, which it never was accepted into the Bible, it was rejected when they canonized the Bible by underneath Constantine. Okay.
So what you just said was they canonized it. You asked me how were they missing?
I didn't.
You said, hold on. You said they canonized the Bible.
I said, no, they canonized the Bible. They never accepted the Book of Mary and all the other books.
Exactly. So that means it's missing from the original text.
No, that does
Yes.
not mean it's missing. It means it was
Okay.
not
I don't want to argue the
accurate.
point. I'm gonna pause the mic. I don't want
Well,
to go
then
back and
pause the
forth with
mic,
you
so you
about
might
this
learn
part.
something. Okay, good, because you might
I
learn
do.
something.
I've learned
When
enough. You're not teaching me anything I don't know. Thank you,
when
sir. Mad
Let's
love.
you don't know.
pass the mic. Let's pass the mic. I did want
So
to
Wait,
welcome Brother Ish. I did want to go back to something Joanna said because I said I would. Joanna, I was interested in you said you were an atheist and then you're no longer. But what you were describing to me sounds more like a disenchantment with religion, not atheism. Because atheism is you don't believe in God. But you said you had an issue with religion, so it sounds to me like disenchantment, not atheism.
well, I'm grateful that you clarified that, Jen. You're right. And this is why words are so important. You're right that I guess I haven't transitioned from being um, an atheist, because to be an atheist means I don't believe in God. And I don't believe in God, which is what I was trying to say when I first spoke. God does not mean what you all are using, how you all are using it. Religion, for the last 20 minutes, the back and forth is over religion. And there's a lot of truth spoken by both Miss Chocolate and Glenn, because to be religious is about control, it is about conquering. And so you would not get any pushback on me or from me by saying that religion is not of a higher power. You would not get any pushback from me at all. Religion is like I said, is meant to control. It's a conquering mechanism to conquer the minds of people, to give power to a few. So no, I'm not religious. No, I don't believe in God, because God doesn't mean the higher power. People are using the word God as synonymous with consciousness. And see, that is what it is. That is what we're talking about. But we're misusing the words. We're
So
talking about.
I want to ask you a second question. When you said it's even bad to be too religious, right? You said that earlier. Can you give me an example of first what too religious may be and what it can result in? When you say some people can be too religious, what does that look like?
Well, like how the Catholics during the Inquisition times, when they subjugated the people. Even there was different times, like the Miss Chocolate spoke of the Crusades. There was a form of conquering. Those people were extremists. They were too religious. But again, understand, religion doesn't mean anything about what I'm talking about. Religion doesn't have anything to do with spirituality. It was about conquering the land, conquering the people. That's what you all are having a discussion about. I'm not participating in that. I don't need to go back and forth with that, because I understand what religion is. It's just about conquering people.
So
I am not a religious person.
okay, so I want to pass the mic because we do have Brother Ish up here. But before he says anything, I did want to touch on, do you guys think, since the topic is the lucrative business of religion and its customer base, do you think that, I've seen some people may not like this or find it funny, but I compare religion, especially in our communities, right, to the military, where the military usually recruits where? In poor neighborhoods, right? Religion is the same. You're not going to see, religious people and pastors, but you're not going to see them in Calabasas or Beverly Hills or on Park Avenue. They're usually in the quote unquote hood, for lack of a better term, the quote unquote hood, right? So right there, to me, that's a sign that something is fucked up. in that system where you can get the most people to listen to you are usually people that are not of means, and then usually the ones that are comfortable being okay with poverty or the level they're on. And also, now that Brother Ish is here, I know the word God, right? We have to use the word God the way the majority uses it, right? The consensus. Because we can say, well, God doesn't mean that, and God doesn't mean that. But for the majority of everybody, God means one thing. The guy in the sky that says yay or nay and punishes you and sends you to hell, that's God. That's, that's how the majority of people see it. But it's interesting on that point, Brother Ish, because I was always confused when I see the Nation of Islam constantly talking about God, 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 God. But then I was like, wait a minute. I thought the Nation of Islam, when they talk about a God, they're talking about self. You are the God. Like, you are the God. I decide life and death, and, I rule my world. But then during the preaching, God is spoken of like he's someone else. So can you speak on that a little bit? Because God isn't spoken of from what I've seen, from the speeches I've seen. God isn't spoken of like he's me, right? I don't see people at the podium saying, well, when I come back and it's always, well, God doesn't want and God doesn't like, and he said, so who is he? Why is there that separation?
To be quick with it, because I know that I need to be concise. I'm trying to phrase it because I wasn't really prepped to have this conversation like this. But when you're speaking of God in the first person and says God wants this for you, this, that, and the other, there is an originator, an original being that created all that was self-created in the heavens and the universe. There are laws from that exist, from that consciousness. That stream of consciousness, we believe, exists and can be received and manipulated through every human being. That is our connection with that deity. It's almost like, to make it very quick, like the internet. You can tap into the internet, you can tap into your higher spiritual self, because that is the life source and consciousness that exists within you. So there are laws, there are approaches, and it's almost like in the same way karma and different other religious religions have put it out there, but it all kind of ties in that way. I'm not really, again, the most eloquent in articulating the word.
What is that noise? Wait, what is that noise? Watch your mics, people. What is that noise? Because it's like a crazy squeaking and screeching.
Oh, it was a chair I was in. I'll get off of it.
Really loud.
Yeah, sorry about that. But that conceptually, that's when the minister is speaking about God in the first person, that's what he's saying. That they're
all of that, and I'm still confused. When he's speaking of God in the first person, like when I've seen the minister preach, he's talking about God like it's not him. But yet I've heard Nation of Islam members saying God isn't a him. It isn't a guy in the sky. It's that. So why speak of a God like it's a God in the sky if you don't believe it's a God in the sky? That's my question.
To be able to
who is God? Who is God? Let me simplify. Who is God?
We are all God. We are all God.
God is consciousness. This is what I keep trying to emphasize.
It is a consciousness that we all have the ability to tap into. With that, there are certain themes, laws that are associated with the righteous consciousness of self. We are also devil. So we have the option of being either right and being godlike, or we have the option of being devil-like based upon our courses of action and our choices.
Okay, so
I would take it further, Brother Ish, and say that we are both positive and negative. These are energies.
Could I add an extra piece to that?
Hold on 1 second. Hold on. One mic. Okay, Ish. So if God is all of us and it is consciousness, then my question again is, why when a minister or one of the leaders of the Nation of Islam, why when they're on the podium, I'm asking the question, Why do they speak of it? Why don't they preach it like God is all of us? God is our consciousness. You must be good, not bad. Why do they speak of a God like he's up in the sky and he's coming back and he's watching and he's saying yay or nay? Am I not posing the question?
I have an answer for that.
After her, I do have an answer for you, Jen.
All right, since Ish doesn't have an answer for what
I
goes
have an answer. I wasn't gonna do,
Okay, so then, okay. Yeah, you answer, because I'm asking you.
So yeah, you're asking me. So in answer to that question, it's because our people are steeped into a certain level of understanding of God, and it's a transitory type of communication. Bottom line.
So you're dumbing down what you think, because the majority of our people, I'm sure you mean Black people when you say that, believe in the God in the sky. So you think, well, look, it's going to be too hard to teach these people that they are God and they are consciousness. So let's just throw at them the God that they know already, the God in the sky. Am I in the ballpark?
Not in that manner, but we're saying it in language that can be easily received. And I'll give you an example. When the Nation of Islam started, we didn't follow traditional Islamic practices. We didn't bring in sit down on the floor, women sit over here behind the men, and the men sit in the front and do these type of prayers. We did a traditional type of seated scenario that was transitory for people to come into a new way of looking at things. So the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, in his intention in evolving this understanding, brought it in a manner which it could be received in the 1930s. That has been now, it progresses, it advances, the language is there, but there's still those that are not on that same level, and it's bringing all of our people into a different consciousness of how to accept self. So we still promote that there is no mystery God, there's no spook in the sky, there's no ghost overseeing your life, but there are laws, and there's karma. And to not utilize the language of another entity, we are utilizing language that is very common to everyone that's being spoken to.
So it sounds like you said what I said. You just said it with more words. So you dumb down the religion, or cut it in half to make it easy for the dumb people who are not ready to accept that they are God, good and evil themselves. Is that why there are other countries who practice Islam and say you guys are the fake ones?
Absolutely. I mean, because in many Middle Eastern practices, they believe in a mystery God. They believe in the spook in the sky, and we don't.
Really?
Yeah. So I mean, ultimately, it's with any faith practice, and from this point of time, no one was here 2,000, 300, 400 years ago. So everything is based upon faith, based upon who you trust is providing you this information. So it's an agreement that we all come to, and it's like, okay, well, I trust what this person is saying, or I experienced this. So from that dynamic and that paradigm, there are many sects and different views and interpretations that take place, but ultimately all this comes from a physical being. There was some male or female that stood in front of people and said, I have enlightenment, I have understanding, and people trusted that person and applied it, practiced it, and it evolved. Well, that's the ultimate reality. So
that's why I liken it, but that's why I liken it to sports and social clubs, because everybody takes it and remixes it. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad took Islam and remixed it, right? It wasn't in its original form. Literally dumbed it down, right? So the Black folk in America could understand it. That is what happened. That is what I mean by it's just social clubs and like sports. Everybody wears it differently, but it's the same fucking ball, right?
Well, I mean that's the natural dynamic of human behavior. If you have a collective of people and they want to have some sort of order or structure within that collective or community, that there's going to be someone that says, no, this is right and this is wrong. And if you trust and believe what this person is saying, then that is how circumstances evolve. Prophet Muhammad was a trusted Arab in that environment. Everybody said he was a good dude, and he got inspired, heard a voice, and then went on and periodically would have revelations. And from those revelations, people applied it and they found success in the application.
Okay, so like I said, it's social clubs. But I want to pass the mic. I know Juwan and Chocolate, you wanted to add to something or answer my question. Juwan?
Yes, ma'am.
Go ahead.
Brother
I'll wait.
Ish,
You go ahead.
Brother Ish definitely touched on what I've been trying to say. When I try to speak to you all to say that God is not what you think you're saying, you couldn't accept that. So I have to speak to you, like you said, in the language that you all understand. You call that dumbing down. I call that trying to relate something to you. The God that you're thinking of is not a father in the sky. It is not, a, you know, just what I said. It's not a father in the sky. It's not a mother in the sky. It's simply consciousness. When I say God bless you all, I'm not calling on a person. I am invoking, which is what the word God means. That's why I started out with what the word God means. It means to invoke. It means to call forth. It means to pour out. It means to, like Brother Ish even said about, inspire. I am inspiring when I say God bless you. I am inspiring a higher consciousness to move forward towards you, to share in that. I'm not calling on a person or an entity. We are that entity if you can tap into it. And that's why it's so important that I, started with the etymology and origin of words so that we can use them properly. But if you're not understanding that, then it's very difficult to have the conversation. It's very difficult to have a conversation when I'm saying that you're right. Religion is, for lack of a better term, evil, because I agree, it's not what you think it is. Religion is simply a conquering mechanism. It's nothing good. I would not be here and argue that for religion. It's nothing good. There's nothing good about it. And so I would agree with all the people who spoke against religion. I am for the higher, the consciousness that says I am all powerful, and I am all powerful. You all have experienced where you were in situations and you didn't understand how you could overcome a difficulty, but you dug deep within yourself. That consciousness is what you call God. I simply call that, and Glenn touched on it a little bit. He said something about a being. Well, we are beings in human form. That's where the term human being comes from. We are human, meaning we have hue, and even so-called white people have a hue, and all living things have melanin. We are hue, and then we influence the term man, and we are beings. What type of beings? We are spiritual, conscientious beings above all other things. We're not even our bodies. We have a body. We're not our bodies. So, this is a very deep conversation. I'm probably gonna go ahead and let you all go because I don't want to bore you with how far I can take this, but just to leave you with that religion is not synonymous with consciousness. You guys are having two different very conversations. And so I will invoke the higher consciousness by saying, may God bless you in this conversation that you all are having. I'm grateful that you're having it. It needs to be had. Thank you so much, Jen, and everyone. Good night.
All right. Can I touch on something she said? Because I hear this passed along where people say, like, there's certain words in the etymology of them, and it's not what it means. Human doesn't mean you have hue. It comes from Latin, homo. It's a late Middle Ages English, humane, from Old French. I'm reading it right now because I wanted to get it right. From Latin, humanus, from homo, man, human being. It has nothing to do with the color of your skin. And I've heard that done with other words like picnic, supposedly. You know, I'm not going to say what some people said it means. It's a French word. It didn't come from that. So, you know, there's
you know, she coming back up here.
well, I'm just saying that I hear that.
Well, I wanted after you say, I just really wanted to answer this question because it's itching me in the back of my brain. So once you're done, I really would like to catch it.
I wanted. Okay, I'll try to be brief. So, sorry, my mind's going, and I'm trying to remember. What's his name?
No, don't rush. Don't rush. That's what I'm saying. Just let me answer her question. I'll get out your way because you sound like you want to.
I want to come back. I want to come back to what was brought up about the Catholic Church worshiping idols. If I'll pass it over to her, but I really want to get, because I've been holding on to that point for a while. But I'll let you go ahead.
No, wait, before Chocolate, you say something. I did want. I'm a little sad Jawana left because I wanted to explain to her. She said when she was talking about God being the consciousness and a high, and she said that we didn't accept that from her. We accepted it from Brother Ish. I don't accept the God at all. So you can take me out of it. I don't accept what God is this and God is that. I'm not that person. So it's not that I accept it from Ish, but not from her. I don't know why Juwana thought that we're not accepting things from her. I just wanted to use the word God the way the Nation of Islam does, because people don't want to hear anything else other than God is that thing in the sky. So we're speaking their language, so to speak, right? But it means nothing to me in the grand scheme in my life, because I don't believe in that thing in the sky, and I don't think that our consciousness should be called a God, right? So I'm out of it. So it's not that we didn't accept what she said. It's just that everybody has a different meaning, like human color of skin, right? And then it turns out it's something else. So it's all good. Like we're just having a conversation. Chocolate Earth, you were saying.
I just kind of wanted to bring it back home as far as Islam is concerned, because as a former Muslim, the belief is very simple, and you're absolutely correct. It's a oneness. It's not, Allah is not supposed to have a gender, sex, color, anything, a body, nothing. It is about the creator, which has created all that we know, from the stars, the galaxy, before time. That is what the belief of oneness is in Islam, which is, it still does not teach you to have thought of self. It does not say that you are within you, you have everything you need to function on this earth. And none of us have an answer for how we got here, why we here, and what we should do. Everything is of trial and error. And when we talk about that in Islam, in Christianity, Catholicism, pick a religion, it all comes down to those fundamental things. Can I convince you that you can believe the way that I believe? And being a part, my father was a part of the Nation of Islam, and we practiced separately. The women were in one part, the kids was in another part. The men did this during the day. The women, it was, and this was in like the 90s, like the way that it was set up. There was no, we did sit on the floor. We ate like that. It was as that was concerned. But it all comes down to the same thing of bringing in money, control, and this ideology that we are not responsible for the things that we do. It is, you didn't get it because God didn't let you have it. Not because you didn't get up off your butt and work hard, not because things happen, not because you don't need to take steps, not any of those things. Not that you didn't have, you should have did XYZ. It is a game. It's a mind game. It's a conditioning to believe that you have no control, which you don't have control over other human beings, but you have control on how you handle your business and how you react to others. You can do anything you want on this earth. Earth is everything you need. You can get everything, mineral, blah, blah, blah. And that's why I said when we talk about religion and we want to separate it and cut it up all in these pieces and make it deeper than it is, to the question and the topic at hand, it is all a game. It is all a game. One is always better than the other for some asinine reason. And nobody can bring you any proof that this is exactly what it should be. Not in the Quran, not in the Torah, not in the Bible, not in any of them. Because they all contradict themselves, even within themselves. And women are not safe in religion. They never have been.
Thanks.
So I wanted to answer that, and I'm done.
Ooh, let me say something real quick before somebody jumps in. First of all, Chocolate, that explains a lot. All right, that explains some shit that I've experienced in my life. That fucking explains a lot. I do have a question, and this is for the panel or for Chocolate or whoever. Why is it that in one breath it is taught, well, if it didn't happen for you, that is because God didn't allow it. If it didn't happen for you, that is just the way, right? Leave it in God's hands. And then in the other hand, they are sure to make sure that that congregation, followers, whatever you want to call the people that sit in the audience, okay? Because there's a difference between the audience and the guy up front, all right? How in the same breath they say it wasn't meant to be, but in the next breath, they make sure that that audience is producing for the guy at the front. How is that, right? If it's that you didn't get it because God didn't want you to have it, how is it in the same breath you preach to this following? Well, you got to go out there and work to keep us afloat and keep us running. How do people not see that?
Well,
Because it's I'll let
no, you go.
well, we have to understand something. Any religion or any cult, it works because it fulfills a need. It's like a store. A convenience store stays in business because it provides a particular product that the community or people who, frequent the community need. Now, let's take the black church. The black church is successful in the hood because what do they often preach? They often preach, if you maintain the belief in this religion and this structure and you give your tithes and offering, you will experience a world and a life at some point in time without what? Without pain. You will experience a time in your life where you will receive prosperity. Basically, the antithesis of everything that you're going through right now. I have a way and I have a system that will free you of it. Now, the need and the thirst to free oneself from that present condition at times is so strong. People let go of any concept of logic and they follow. I'm going to use Scientology. Scientology wouldn't really necessarily work in the hood because it costs a lot of money to actually go up the ladder, But where does Scientology usually flourish? Amongst the rich who are afraid that they'll die soulless, who are afraid that for the things that they might have done in order to gain their riches, they'll live a life of, they'll basically pay for those transgressions. So they go to a place like Scientology that says, okay, if you keep going, giving us your money, blah, 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 you'll go up a particular ladder and eventually you won't die from cancer. You'll be this invincible being. You'll be beyond this, you'll be beyond that. So that speaks to someone who might be affluent. That speaks to someone who might be, who feels that, oh, I have all this money, but I'm missing something human. I'm missing something that can make me feel enlightened. So something like Scientology, yeah, that works with that. Now the Jews, that's a different situation entirely. The Jews, what do they often sell? They sell community. Okay, I spoke to a Jewish woman, and she says it's not about religion; it's about community. So you can sell community to a bunch of people who in their mind say that, well, if I'm part of a community, what can I do? I can actually excel, in a group of people and excel, and we can actually do things like Yeah, you know what I mean, get a big chunk of the financial pie in America and so on and so forth, or whatever they're being accused of this week and so on. Why? Because they're a strong fucking community. That's their brand, being a strong community. Whether, you know what I mean, they might hate each other internally, but on a united front, you can't fuck with the Jews, man. Those people stay on a united front. So it's about what you're selling to whoever it might be in need, knowing your market. That's why a lot of this shit works. Because if you want something really bad, if you're really fucking thirsty and you've been walking in the desert for hours and someone just gives you a bottle of piss, you just might drink that shit, man, because you haven't drunk anything in such a long time.
Let me ask this, and anybody can answer. Scientology is expensive. That's why, I mean, one of their buildings is called the Celebrity Center. Okay. It's for people with money, right? People with money who want spirituality. I like how you explained it. You know, the NOI is similar to the Black church. The majority of its members are Black. Do you think that they're using Farrakhan to funnel Scientology into the communities, the Black church, specifically the NOI?
Yes.
Do you think they're using Farrakhan to funnel Scientology? And so it's just a matter of, it's kind of like Banana Republic is the same company that owns the Gap, is the same company that owns Old Navy. The people can't afford Banana Republic are going to shop at Old Navy, right? And the people that can't afford the Gap are going to shop at Old Navy. But it's the same company. So do you think that Scientology is branching out to like, look, we know them Negroes at the NOI can't afford the big, you know, Celebrity Center and the $3,000 course, but we do have something right here that's $500. Do you think that now Farrakhan is being used, or maybe Farrakhan is not being used, but volunteering to funnel Scientology into the community? Is Scientology trying to branch out? In other words, like, wait, there's
Yes.
money over there too.
Yes, I believe so. I believe so.
Yeah, I agree
And
with
I
that.
think
It's
they're
a money
also,
game.
I think for Scientology, they, on top of the bad press that they may have in relationship to some racial disparities that I won't even say racist, some racist terms that L. Ron Hubbard has expressed, they're doing a lot to try to fix that, and they tried to anchor themselves in the Black community for sure.
Boy.
Well, because they
That's
know
interesting.
that we are committed. Black folks are committed to religion in this country because that's the only thing that we've been allowed to hold on to. See the difference, and I'll put that to what was just stated. The reason why the Jewish community is so strong is because they weren't tainted the way we were. They were in another. We did not have a large Jewish population until after World War II. But before that, they lived their own lives. They lived in their countries. They lived where they live. Black folks have been in this country. The reason why we're so easily duped is because we still want to believe that eventually white people will like us. Eventually God is going to change their mind and they're going to not be that way. But it hasn't changed at all. We're still very separate, even in our religion. And it was interesting because when we talk about Creflo Dollar, I'll use him as an example. He wanted a new jet just like the white prosperity preachers. Well, Black people was like, yeah, we'll get you a jet, but it's going to be used. It ain't brand new and you ain't getting 6. There's always it's a level to it. And it is very honest in the sense that as much as we would love to say that, oh, we're diverse and everybody is just loving each other, that's not true. That's not true, because we still wouldn't have the issues that we do. In Scientology, there's not a big group of Black people in Scientology. And the people of the new Nation of Islam and what it was with Elijah Muhammad in comparison to Farrakhan, and how it has transitioned and how they have kind of kept a really tight community despite.
Chocolate, you there?
Hello.
He probably dipped out.
Well,
Can I just say something real quick about
all right, but I want to
Scientology?
go eventually.
I had no say.
I just want to say like this. I'm not a big Scientologist fan, but you know what? They pay so well, and they send me Christmas cards all the time because I have worked on so many projects for them. Like they have no, like they're like the serious, like they're a whole different breed of like things. Like you go into their compound, they have snipers, they have gate guards. Like
Yeah.
this shit is your cell
Watch
phone
your
doesn't even work when you go through the gate. I kid you not.
Yes.
Swear to God.
Yes.
It's a very
Scientology
controlling
is
They pay
cult.
on a.
so well.
Let me
They
say this.
pay so well for like these 2-minute clips, and I'm just like, fuck it, just keep on paying me.
Wait. What's their phone number?
Scientology has one thing that they do. They don't push their spirituality and that dynamic first. They
That is
push you.
so true.
They push your issue. So if you're like, how can I be more organized in my life? We got a class for you. How can I manage my time better? We got a class for you. Like,
Yep.
and that is where it, like, when it comes to the hustling of faith, and that's why they have money, and that's why they even have wealthy people that support them and are involved in them, because there's a practicality that they bring to the table versus just praying to the sky and expecting something to change. They're like, put this system in place and you will be successful. Put this system in place and you'll be successful. And that's where it, but the dynamic is, the caveat in that is, it's driven by money. So the knowledge is not driven by you being a better person. The knowledge is not driven by seeing someone else grow and evolve. The knowledge is being driven by, buy the next course. You got something else wrong with you. You need to go learn that too. So I get why they're
Snake oil
successful.
salesman.
Right. I get why they're successful. I mean, ultimately, because they have their systems in place very well. And it's a very interesting course of study to observe how they do things. But again, you have it's all religion again, and I won't beat a dead horse, and I won't be long. It's based around a human being. And that's the honest to God truth, that we in the nation believe God is a man. God is manifested through human beings. So if somebody moves in a righteous, enlightened way, they are manifesting God. If they're moving in a wicked way, they are manifesting devil, or the way of being evil. So that's what we teach, and that's what we believe. So it's a very humanistic belief system. When the Honorable Elijah Muhammad says, when you see a black man, you are looking at God. That tells you directly that's how we believe. So we don't believe in something in the sky, but you can't present that to everyone, because then you're saying, well, if I'm God, then I'm gonna take this gun and kill this man. That's not a righteous act. So that's not the way of God. That's a wicked act, and that's devil.
So is the Nation of Islam, are they racist?
No.
Are they bigots?
Wait, so when they say,
great question.
so when they say, wait a minute, you just said, I'm just trying to get an understanding. I want to explore all of this. You said, when Farrakhan says you look at when you see a black man, you see a God, right? Does he mean just a black man or a man in general? Is it the white man a God too? When I look at Glenn, do I also see God, or just when I look at you?
When you look at the original man, that's
You
what
see
he's
a
saying.
devil when you look at me. Okay, let's get it right. They call me the white devil.
But it's not about skin color. It's about your nature. Your nature is an inclination towards wickedness and unrighteousness, and that's a whole historical conversation that we can get into.
Well,
But
I mean, that would be. I mean, see see when they say like good and evil, and this is where I have a fundamental problem, and we haven't even gotten to my problem with Christianity, because I have a horrible problem with Christianity. But see, I have a fundamental problem with this aspect of what is good and evil, because that is so subjective. Because if my goal is to, take all the money from your village, and that's good for me and my people, but bad for you and your people, it's good for me, but it's bad for you. So then it becomes subjective. Then it does not. Then it's not. If it's good and evil, it has to be unilaterally, principle across all platforms or all grounds. But
so let me respond to that point.
yeah,
Good and evil is based upon the consequences that it creates. So even though you may take all this money from my village and then feed your people, you've harmed someone in that process. So that's how you can determine whether something is good or bad, right or wrong, good or evil. If there's a negative consequences that's inflicted based upon what's being done, you can guarantee that is what we would term evil or wicked.
but I mean, then again, you say that's subjective because who is it negative for? You know, like again, you could. The problem with this is like
if you're doing harm, it's negative. This is my point. If you took it, say
it's
so.
Considered
Let's
harm
say
to who though? That's the issue. Like when you break it down,
if you're doing harm in the process, it's not to whom. It's if you're doing harm in the process, that's negative. Do you understand that?
I no, trust me, I understand it. I'm saying the issue is that because these are all talking points that they teach in any religion study, that if it does harm or if there's a negative impact or if it it's a sin, however they want to word it. But the problem that I have with it is that you can look at doctrine, you could look at historical, biblical or whatever religious doctrine where it talks about negative things being happened in the name of a deity that was considered righteous, so that's where the conflict is. That's where I say it's subjective in a sense, because like for instance the biblical story of Gideon, right, where he God went forth and he sent his army out there with them and killed a whole bunch of people. Well, that was negative for the Palestinians, right, or the people that they killed, but it was a positive for this, so therefore it was good. So therefore that's where it gets kind of weird, because it justifies certain what we would consider overall negative behavior, but then it praises it at the same time. And that's where I said it gets really subjective in that sense. Do you see what I'm saying?
I got one, Glenn. For the brother, when Malcolm X was ousted, that was good for the nation, right? Right?
Not really.
Was it? So why
it was good for because Malcolm was out of turn, and it was good for Malcolm. Malcolm needed to be ousted.
Not nice. I like how you clean that up.
I'd like to.
So wait a minute, hold on. So it wasn't good for the nation that he was ousted? It wasn't good for the nation?
No, it wasn't. It wasn't protecting anything because it didn't change anything. Malcolm being ousted didn't change membership. Malcolm being ousted didn't change the growth and development of the nation. It didn't change the ability of Elijah Muhammad's teachings to be effective.
Right, but him being there would have meant that someone within their organization is anti the things that they were doing. So it wouldn't have made sense for them to keep him there, right? That would be kind of weird.
Not at all. I mean,
so then why didn't they keep him? If it's not at all, it wasn't that the nation didn't keep him. Malcolm did not do what he was required to do to retain his membership. He was ousted because he didn't do what he was supposed to do to retain the membership. He was ousted, right?
He was silenced from speaking, and he got frustrated from being silenced and not being able to speak publicly. That then he said, you know what, since I'm not able to speak publicly, then I'm going to do my own thing and start my own organization, which he had the right to do.
So he wasn't trying to, wait, let me fit. Let's talk one at a time. I know you like talking over, but let's talk one at a time. So he wasn't trying to get back in?
He was trying to get back in. There's an audio of him apologizing to get back in.
Who didn't allow him to come back in?
No one didn't allow him to come back in. The instruction was put out all the fires that you set and you can come right back in.
Okay, and when he didn't put out the fires, who didn't let him come back in?
Did nobody not let him come back in? He was in his practice.
Nobody let him come back in. That doesn't make sense.
There was no obstruction.
Wait a minute. If I tell you, right? If I hire you to put cups on the shelf, You refuse to put cups on the shelf because you think it's unfair. And I would say, well, you got to put cups on the shelf in order for you to come back in here. That's what you have to do. And then you're like, it's unfair. I'm not going to do it. Then it is my job to say, fuck off. Then you can't come in here. So I'm the one that's not allowing you. You can't say no one not allowed me to come back in because I'm the one that didn't allow you to. So how is it logical that you're saying nobody didn't let him come back in? Somebody said you're not coming back in unless you X, Y, and Z. Is that correct?
No, that's not correct. What happened was he was silenced as a minister to speak publicly on behalf of the nation. And he decided not to come back. So using your analogy, no, he was not ousted. He was silenced. So he was never kicked out of the nation. So it just like if you said, you're going to put these glasses on the shelf, and I say, I'm not going to put these glasses on the shelf. Okay, well, come back when you're ready to put glasses on the shelf. That's the circumstance. And I never come back.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
so
then that's
so you're saying that Malcolm didn't want to go back. That's what you're saying?
Malcolm didn't want to go back until I heard an audio that's on YouTube where he apologized and wants to come back. And the response to him coming back in and saying, hey, what I said was wrong. What I did was wrong. I know, and I believe in this and that and the other. And I want to come back and get everything right. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad said, put out the fires that you said, put out the things that you said that weren't right, and get back to work.
So let me ask you this. So nobody in the nation, including Farrakhan, spoke against Malcolm X publicly ever?
No, Farrakhan spoke publicly against Malcolm, effectively to disassociate himself with what Malcolm was doing.
The answer is yes, not no. Because I just asked you, did Farrakhan or anyone in the nation ever speak out against Malcolm publicly? And then you said, no, Farrakhan just blah, blah, blah. It's yes or no. Did he speak publicly against Malcolm?
Yes, he spoke publicly against Malcolm.
So now we go back to what Glenn was saying. Because in Farrakhan's mind, that was a good thing that he spoke against Malcolm, but it hurt Malcolm, which is the same thing Glenn was saying. Who are you harming? When is it considered harm? If you're the giver of the harm or the receiver? So we go back to what Glenn said. When you said, well, if you're doing something and it's causing other people harm, then it's inherently evil or it's bad. But I'm sure Farrakhan didn't think it was bad or it was evil. He was just saying what was on his mind, knowing that he had influence, knowing that whatever he said, the minions under him were going to follow, because Farrakhan knows that what level he was on and how people looked up to him, and that caused harm to Malcolm. But I'm sure the nation thought it was a good thing. Do you understand? Follow?
I understand, but that wasn't the circumstances. Again, Farrakhan wasn't what he was then as he is now. Back then, he was somebody under Malcolm as a protege. Farrakhan, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, spoke out against Malcolm, in my personal opinion, because the atmosphere was, are you with him? Because that was your boy. Or are you here with us? And he had to take a position that says, I'm rolling with the Father. I'm not rolling with the Son. And he openly says that publicly, that I'm not with where you're going with this, and I'm gonna let him know that's what you're saying. And Malcolm said, well, okay, well, give me an opportunity to write a letter to the Honorable Elijah Muhammad to express how I'm feeling and how I'm perceiving things. He said, cool, you can go on ahead and do this. If your letter gets there before mine, then that's good. But that was the atmosphere. Now that's a realistic atmosphere.
So it sounds to me like for someone who wasn't ousted, it was sure a lot of motherfuckers against him. For someone who wasn't ousted.
No. But again, there's a lot of envy and jealousy in relationship to that. And even when you see individuals who are growing in popularity, there's always somebody sitting around in the wings of a collective, whether it's taught in the principles or not, that has some sort of hard feelings about why he getting all this attention. I can teach just as good as him. You're going to have that kind of dynamic. What keeps that dynamic in check between men and women is there are laws and infrastructure that keeps it from going too far. And that's the dynamic. So ultimately, yes, there were individuals who were resentful of Malcolm, who were like, oh, you think you better now that you doing this and you on the Meet the Press and 60 Minutes or what, I'm using these names, but you're out there in the media and you're a media darling. Well, don't let the cameras get you in. And that's just jealousy and envy. But that's something that as an individual and as a leader, you have to learn how to deal with and master. You got to master people hating on you. And if you can't handle it, then you're not really a leader.
Before we pass the mic, what problem do you have with the word ousted? I'm just curious.
Because we have a structure called F time, and F time means that no one can speak to you, deal with you, and he was never given F time. He was never given C time, which means you have to come to the mosque, all meetings, report in, and do all these type of things. He was never given any of that. He was silenced as a public spokesman for the nation. He could have came to the mosque every day, and if he just sat down and shut up and just roll with this disciplinary action, then we'd be looking at Malcolm today.
Doesn't sound like much of a religion. Damn. Come in, sit down, and shut up and do as I do.
Yeah, hell, it's not your ball. It's not your ball. This is not, you can't walk in here and say, okay, I'm going to go change everything. I got the wisdom. Nigga, we taught you.
But I bet they took that money when he was selling those final calls and getting their name out on CNN and 60 Minutes. I'm sure they took it all in. Were they denying it?
Everything is real. Come on, we live in a tangible world. You cannot sit up here and just think that you're going to pray your way into something. Finances and economics are part of building a nation. That is the intention.
So it's a business. Religion is a business. Yeah.
No, the Nation of Islam is a movement. It's beyond just a religion, or there's a religious aspect to it, but it is a movement.
So it's not a business.
No, it's not a business. It has business elements in it because we're trying to build an independent nation. We're trying to produce a different people.
Brother,
we're trying to produce from the prototype set up by the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. We're trying to produce a new version of Black people.
Brother, pass
the mic.
If something has business elements in it, brother, that element on a whole, collectively speaking, is a business. No one's kind of pregnant. No one kind of got shot. You know what I mean? You don't kind of die. It's either it is a business or it isn't. Now, there could be certain protocols and so on and so forth that doesn't make it seem like a conservative business per se, but it's still a business nonetheless. Anyway, I'm not going to get into that. I'll just basically say what I wanted to say. Most human beings have a very binary concept of the good and evil. Just a very binary good and evil, God and the devil, so on and so forth. And philosophically speaking, to be very frank with you, there is no such thing. Yes, I did say it. There is no such thing as good and evil. There's only inconvenient and convenient outcomes based on individual perspectives. Now I'm going to provide you with examples. First of all, also understand, like, for instance, in politics, there are no sides. I don't care what they tell you, Republicans, Democrats, Shiites, whosoever, there are no sides. They're only uncommon and common interests. Because if the common interest is to do X, Y, Z, understand that morality becomes very malleable under the conditions that if either party gets what they want, the concept of good or evil be damned, they're going to go forward and do it. I'm gonna give you an example real quick, just a very basic example. For generations, we all came to agreement that Hitler was, binarily speaking, an evil person. By definition of what we call evil and wicked, we all agreed that Hitler was pretty much the poster boy for that. Now, with the ongoing hatred that I'm seeing for Blacks, having for Jews, thanks to Kanye West's wacky ideas and you know what I mean, all the other wacky ideas that's being thrown around.
But
People
Farrakhan,
are actually,
just to interject, Farrakhan has been called anti-Semitic for a long time because he spoke a lot against the Jews, which is crazy why Kanye won't collab with him.
no, but what Kanye, the
So
last
was
thing
Martin
that
Luther
Kanye
King and
basically
James
said,
Baldwin.
the last thing that Kanye basically said was that,
They're not alive though.
and you know what I mean, he likes Hitler. He basically sees good in Hitler, blah blah blah, so on and so forth. I'm seeing black folks actually sitting here and considering that Hitler really wasn't a bad person. That Hitler actually, you know what I mean, liked blacks. I'm actually seeing this. I'm also actually seeing Hebrew Israelites actually saying that they're on the side of Hitler.
I saw
And I'm
that.
saying to myself, like, okay, I see what this is, because your interests are that you hate this other group so much. The idea of standing behind this sick, twisted motherfucker makes sense for you because you benefit for it.
The enemy
So
of my enemy is my friend.
and
Okay,
that's the point.
I need
And
to
that's what I'm
step in.
saying. And that's the point that I'm saying.
I know you got information
You
on
know what I
it.
mean? The enemy of my enemy is my friend. So under those circumstances, what is really good or evil? Because if you're willing to, you know what I mean, put your morality and your ideas on hold in order to get what you want, then how, you know what I mean, how static are you about the things that you stand for? And I'll just pass the mic on that.
Before No Saint speaks, really quickly, Haran, Primetime asked a good question when you said there's no such thing as good or evil. He said, so no difference between murder and giving someone your liver for them to live.
For me, somebody still dies in the end, but the outcome is different. But the outcome, I just said, it's an inconvenient or convenient outcome.
You did.
Inconveniently, someone is murdered. Conveniently, someone died to give someone else a liver. So that's what I was just saying.
You did say that. No Saint, I know you have some info on that.
Yeah. So I've seen the same videos that we're talking about, and I heard Ish say the enemy of my enemy is my friend. But the problem is that the enemy of your enemy was also your enemy. If you ever read Mein Kampf, Hitler blamed the Jews for bringing black people to Germany. If you see how the black people,
thank you for saying that.
Yeah. If you see how
he did not like black people.
Yeah, if you see how black people were treated in Germany, they were on the same level as all the other people that Hitler hated.
Let me say this: when I referenced that quote, I was just referencing the quote. I wasn't saying I was in agreement with.
No. I get what you're saying, and that's what I'm saying. So they think that the enemy of the enemy is their friend, but they don't realize that it's actually their enemy. So there was the enemy as well. Man, there's so much that's been over. First of all, Chocolate, I find it fascinating because I was in a cult too, and I know you were in several cults, which is really fascinating to me. You went, your family brought you from one cult to another cult to another cult.
Listen. And it was my dad. It wasn't my mom. And of course, again, another cult, Christianity, teaching and conditioning my mother that she need to follow her man because he the leader. So you need to listen to him. So that's why we ended up being, and she ended up taking us back to the church, even though she really wasn't raised that way. Like my grandmother wasn't a serious religious person. Like they didn't go to church all the time or whatever. But yes, it gave me an insight into two things. It gave me into insight of how people will twist themselves into a pretzel to make themselves believe anything. If you want to believe it, you're going to believe it. And if you want to get out, you'll get out eventually. Now, I truly believe in brainwashing. Half of America is brainwashed. And I'm giving us some. I'm giving us some. Because, I don't want to offend any of the men on the panel, but like I said, my battery died, so I apologize. I still stand with that. Children and women are not safe within religion. They never have been.
Yeah,
we are told what we're supposed to do to support y'all in your shenanigans, and you see where it has gotten us.
Yeah, and I think, with children, you're just You are
there's too many.
you are programming them when they have no reference.
Oh, they start young, honey.
You're programming them a belief system. And so
My sister. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry. What I heard here tonight when you're talking, and I'm sorry, Joanna's not on here, and I think Ish was kind of saying some of the same things about you are God. It's all BS wrapped under a new bow. That's all it is, because people don't want to recognize that all you are is Homo sapien sapien. You're a primate. You're an animal. There's nothing special about you. The only thing that makes us dominate the world is we communicate ideas to each other, and we've learned to listen. We got 7 billion people on Earth, and that's all due to mental our brains evolving with ideas. Most of us wouldn't be here if it wasn't for a handful of people with who helped us along. Basically, the majority of us are not really built to live on this earth. If you think about it, we have farmers giving us our food, doctors and scientists. It's like a handful of people that keep this thing propped up, right? But religion. What I wanted to say to Glenn earlier, he was talking about and that's why I hate that I have to wrap around so early in the show. But I had something to say, because what he was saying about the Catholic Church praying to Mary, and it's the same thing my cult used to talk about the Catholic Church, right? That's just a way to say, our religion has, listen, we're not these idol worshiping Catholics, but in general, religion is all the same. They're just selling you an idea with a little twist. Hebrew Israelites have their little twist to draw people in, right? And really, I think they borrowed a lot of it from the Nation of Islam when it comes to some of the same things Ish was saying earlier about, you're born, your nature. It's not your skin color, it's your nature. You were born Esau. It's really not your skin color. It's just your people. It's all the same thing, just a new ribbon,
Well,
tied
let
around
me give you a point of reference. There's a picture of Yahweh ben Yahweh, who was the leader of the Israelite movement, and he was an FOI. So all you gotta do is Google it.
Yeah. So is he the guy that down in Miami? Was that the guy down in Florida?
He was down in Florida after the nation fell in 1975. A lot of individuals, split up and wanted to, leave New Edition and start their own thing.
Right, and I believe he had I believe he was he accused of murder or something like that? I believe that's the guy down in Florida.
I'm not sure.
Ordering hits.
I haven't done a full. I mean, I did back in the days, but I didn't really care enough to be adept on his lifestyle. But he eventually moved to Israel, I think, and they live on in a section of Israel that's
Dimona.
by a toxic waste dump. It's like
Dimona. Yeah. I know there's a group. A lot of them came out of Chicago, or at least a bunch of them came out of Chicago and moved out to Dimona, Israel. But
he ran out of money. That's why he's living there. Dump. That's crazy.
No. That's kind of
the dump was that they weren't being acknowledged by the regular Israelis that are there, and that they're being treated like second class, third class citizens. That was the point.
Damn.
It's like when they build a new stadium.
You're still a nigga. That's what they said.
When they build a new stadium, they build it on the cheapest.
Basically,
kind of the same thing.
Basically, sir, that's exactly what they're saying.
They said, I don't know what your black ass thought, but keep your black ass in the slums where you belong, Negro boy.
Well, I don't know if anybody likes soccer, because the people who built those stadiums this year for FIFA, they did not look like the same people who live in Qatar. That's all I'm gonna say.
Oh no.
So I mean, and that's the issue. That's one of the issues in relationship to that, when they say that, oh yeah, all Israelites and Jews are the same. That's not true. They treat African Jews differently, even though you look at the lineage and you can find, for all the way down to South Africa, that they're tied into Abraham and Solomon and all the traditional individuals in Scripture. So, that's where the challenge is, and why people say that there's kind of an insidious dynamic to the Jews, that the Ashkenazi European Jews.
So going back to the topic, does somebody's flipping cards at their desk or where they are? Somebody's flipping cards or doing something. I don't know what y'all doing, flicking a lighter or what? The mic is picking it up. So going back to the topic, does religion use fear and false promises for profit?
Yes.
Does religion use
Yes.
fear and false promises
All
for
day,
profit?
all day.
Yes. Yes.
And also, do people choose religion because it's just easier and comfier, you know, looking forward to the promise of another life, so they barely fucking work for anything while they're alive on earth?
So let me chime in here and say a couple things. Yes, see, religion is bad. All religions are bad. Religion in itself is created by man as an order of operations. It is a traditional thing. Traditional things that are practiced habitually. That's always been bad, in the sense of when it's used to manipulate and govern people. Now, I say that to say, what if you want to understand what the essence of what was supposed to be from, and I'm not sure if this is in the Quran, but I know in many Bible, in the biblical realm it's there, but even in the old Dead Sea Scrolls it's there, where it talks about God didn't want to have a religion with people, he wanted a relationship with people. That was the whole tentative of his thing, by helping them go from Egypt to set them free. You know, the whole Moses or the Abraham Moses thing, where, you know, Moses went up to and got the 10 commandments. That whole thing was never supposed to be that way, because God wanted to have a relationship, but the people wanted laws. They wanted something, just tell us what to live by, you know. That's kind of how the thing became a religion, because everybody just wants to have laws to live by. Let me know what sins I can and cannot do. Let me know what's good and bad, and I'll do the good things and not the bad things. You know, people don't want what they said it was a relationship. So that's why we have religions. Now, with that being said, like I said, I have these degrees. I don't support even the Christian church. Mind you, I think actually the Christian church now today is actually the worst thing out there than anything else, for the sake of the fact that they have not only have twisted and turned doctrine, but, you know, and I heard somebody say that the church is not safe for women and children. And I would say, you know what, that's actually very true. If I was thinking about maybe 20 years ago, anything beyond 20 years back, absolutely. But today, in modern times, actually the Christian church in general is actually very hostile to men. Actually, the most men from religious-based men that have committed suicide or have been killed have been found to have the Christian belief. So it's actually, yes, I would say historically definitely been bad for women and children. Currently, that's not so much the story. But I just wanted to say that before I just chime out and listen to you guys.
I'm sorry, excuse me. What you said that now it's not? I'm sorry. Did you not see a reverse Roe versus Wade for morality of Christianity? Like, that's what that was about. That had nothing to do
Roe versus
with any.
Wade
That was about,
what does
yes, Roe versus Wade. Because the reason they flipped it is because the people in the Supreme Court. No,
Roe
sir.
versus Wade is a state and federal thing. That has nothing to
No,
do.
sir. That's yes, it does. Have you ever gone to an abortion clinic? Have you ever gone to one?
An abortion.
Okay, exactly. So have you ever had a pap smear? Have you ever had to go get
I don't have
free
a
health
uterus.
care from somewhere?
But I'm saying, I don't have a uterus.
Have you ever had to take someone there for, you know, any kind of health reasons? Do you see the people that stand in front of abortion clinics? It
What
ain't. It
does that
sure enough
have?
ain't no federal and state thing. It's a Christian thing. The Christians yell the loudest about
Okay, but
abortion,
what does
about
that
women
have to
not
do with
being not
anything?
have.
What
It
does that have to
has
do with Roe
everything to
versus
do with
Wade?
it.
No, it
But it
doesn't, because you don't,
does.
obviously you don't know the Constitution. That's not even a
What
constitutional
are you
law.
talking about? Roe
Exactly,
versus
the law.
Wade was set into place because
And it
women
was
were
never
tired of
constitutional. It was never constitutional.
pretending. It
It
doesn't
was
have to be
never. Yes, it
constitutional, sir.
does. Oh my
Church
God!
is not constitutional.
How are
Church
you gonna
and
say that? How
state
are you
is
gonna say
supposed to be separate, and it's
you are
not.
Can
ignorant
I
right now because
can I interject on one
What are you
just
talking about? Like, what do you
can
mean?
sit
What does it have
what
to do?
chocolate
Like, no,
what
that's okay. Nope, it's all right.
chocolate
It's okay. Thank you.
chocolate. Can I interject for one
There's
point?
two different arguments going on. That's what it
Right,
is.
exactly. That's what I was going to say. I just want to interject on just one point. The sanitization of the changing of the law was based upon what lawyers sat down and determined it was going to be, it wasn't constitutional. But when you look at what was the intention of even going after that law, that's where the religious dynamic comes from. It comes from people who are zealous about their beliefs and wanting to change and have control and
Exactly.
address that dynamic.
I
I'm
agree.
with you. Explain it to your friend, not me.
The legalese of it, that's
His
just
friend.
lawyers. That's just lawyers. That's not where the intention came from. Who was in the back boardrooms having this conversation? Who are the individuals that were funding judges that
there was
were
okay.
pushing the line? So
Okay,
you
show me
have to
where.
take that into consideration.
But no, you have to take this into consideration, please. If you're going to say something is legal or not legal, show me where in the Constitution or in any amendment or the Bill of Rights that it says that that abortion is legal. You can't, because it's not there.
You
Therefore,
know why you can't say that? Because conceptually, it wasn't a practice in the 1600s.
Yes, it was. No, they were having abortions back then too. They were just very heinous, and women were not surviving after them.
Do you know how many babies they done found in the Catholic Church where the nuns done put them in the wall?
But
What's that got to do with it then?
See, here's the thing.
It does. It's all religion. No, no, I'm not.
It's this.
No, I'm not. We do not separate in this country church and state. Stop, sir. You're being disingenuous. For a person who has a degree in religious, then you should know you're being disingenuous.
One thing has affected the other. One thing may influence the other, but one thing is that if something is not legal, if it's not a law, if it's not founded by the Constitution,
we're not talking about that. We were saying fear mongering. Right, it's fear mongering. Fear.
And I'm saying Roe versus Wade.
Do you know how many? Stop, sir.
So I want to interject.
First of all, no.
That's different.
I leave it, Jen. I'm good.
Chocolate, don't leave. Don't leave, chocolate. Chocolate, don't leave.
We can have this debate. I fucking love it. But if you guys talk over each other, we can't hear either one. So if you're making those great points, don't mean shit to us because we can't hear the points.
So can I say something, Jen? Jen, I want to interject to this. So this is the deal. The biggest problem I have, and like I said, my sister is on the other side of the spectrum from me. She is, like I told you, she's big time Christian nationalist. I mean, I say she's a Christian nationalist. I don't know if she knows it or not, but I see it. One thing is she is Christian. The biggest problem I have with this whole push, and it is a push from the evangelicals and the Christians when it comes to abortion, is the fact that they do all this caring for these babies. They want to care. And then they brought the black person up like, oh, more black people get, since when did these white Christians care about black people? They have a baby and then what do? Oh, we want to cut their, if they're born to a poor black mother on social assistance, they want that cut out. Oh, they're having too many babies. And they're getting welfare and all that. So it's so hypocritical to me. They love the babies, but then they don't want to put in any more money towards social programs for people that can't afford to have these babies. And that's the biggest thing I hate about Christian nationalists and or Christians in general, is the hypocrisy they have.
Do you think that religion in general, and anybody can answer, brother issue too, do you think that religion preys on the poor? When I said earlier, like, you don't see churches and people preaching on the corner or selling final calls in Beverly Hills, do you think that religion preys on the poor because they're the most vulnerable mentally?
Absolutely.
Yep.
Absolutely. I mean,
You're not gonna go to Wall Street and sell final calls to, you know, the Black brokers. You're gonna sell it to the guys in Compton and South Central, right? Because the motherfuckers with all the money midtown in Manhattan don't give a fuck about any of that. So does religion specifically prey on the poor, the grandmas, the aunties, the mamas that don't know what they're gonna do with these childrens? And you know what I mean? Do they do that? My mom bought the fucking water off the fucking TV. Do they prey on the poor and the vulnerable and just the people that are dumber than most folks?
I think it's vulnerability.
I take exception to some of the aspects, and pardon me for cutting you off, Chocolate. In fact, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Chocolate.
No worries at all. My ego ain't that big. I'll say this. No, I think it's vulnerability, because I'll give you an example. When you were talking about that, Jen, about people in Beverly Hills, no, they may not be on the corner or anything like they would be in the hood, but this is what they do. They do things like, oh, send your kids to our camp, like Utah. These are some of the worst, supposedly religious, Christian driven places that you're going to help your child become better because they have money, or, you know, you're going to help their child because they're buying a promise, just like anything else. With poor folk, it's, well, because you are going through this because you haven't gone to God. That's the game they play with poor people, is that the reason you poor is because you have not prayed hard enough. You have not done enough. So they use the poor people for labor, for more recruiting in certain instances. But when you come to the people with, I look at Scientology is a clear example of how they, you know, take advantage of the rich. Just because you have money, that don't make you impenetrable to being taken advantage of. If you feel guilty that you rich, it's easy for someone like that to come in and say, well, you know what, donate to some of our poor parishioners and you're going to feel better. Donate to me and I'm going to help you find that salvation, because having that money is a blessing, because you're able to give more to others. Believe me, I come from a whole line of pastors and cops in my family, and they peddle the same shit. So it's like, it's vulnerability. It's you not wanting either to take responsibility, know how to take responsibility, or equipped to take responsibility for the choices and decisions that we make, and feel and stand on your square. Again, if we were a nation of individual thinkers, we wouldn't have all these cliques that we do. And religion is just another form of it. It's just like I said, evangelical, to what he had said earlier. They have a lot to do with our landscape of politics. They always have had their hand in politics in the United States. I mean, that's just.
Ish, what did you want to protest? I know you want to swoop
Go
in.
ahead, yeah.
Not that it was that it's not, every aspect of a religious system is not just about being predatory on the poor. And like she said, I mean, in Calabasas, they got, you know, 60 to 100 churches out there, and that's a small area in the country. So it's just attacked differently. It's more of an elitist and opportunity in the wealthier areas, and it is, you know, a washing away of all the sins that you made on how you made your money, and that's how they play that game. Whereas when you have it in the urban community, and it's a blighted community, you have a different approach. So it's more hand-to-hand, man-to-man type of situation, because it's also a very traumatized group of people. So you're approaching it in a different dynamic versus coming to the office and having somebody write a check to the pastor. You don't have that. That's not going to happen. Somebody's going to come to, Boyd's Market and say, can you write a check to the pastor? It's like, man, I'm sitting there working, $5 an hour. I'm not going to write a check, but you can go to the corporate executive and will you write a check and God will bless you and I will bless you. Jerry Falwell made a whole lot of money off of that.
But but are we going to pretend, hold on a minute. Are we going to pretend that, a Kardashian writing a check to David Miscavige is the same thing as the NOI putting 50 broke black men in beat up suits and bow ties on the corner to sell Final Call? Are we really gonna say it's the same thing? Are we really
damn Jen, beat up suits? Like the brothers do have some nice suits. Like, come on, y'all.
Are we really gonna say it's the same thing? You know what I mean? I know you want to be facetious, but you know what I mean. Are we really gonna compare the two? Me being worth $1 billion and cutting a $500,000 check to Scientology. Are we really gonna compare that to the Nation of Islam specifically targeting and recruiting men to push their papers on street corners? Are we really going to compare the two?
Well, I would say that's not the intention, to just recruit men to sell newspapers. We're not paper boys. The easiest way to propagate the faith is
an interesting term.
Because we're aware of that criticism. It's not something that that we're not blind to. I mean, we're not socially inept. But what I'm saying is that's not the intention. There's a thousand other ways that people can make money than selling a newspaper.
I know, but I love when you do this, and you're so good at it. You're so good at it. There's 1,000 other ways to make money, yet that is what y'all are doing. You're not doing the 1,000 other ways. You're selling papers.
That's not all that we're doing.
Great, and you're great at doing that. There's 1,000 other ways to make money, yet you're out there selling papers. But if there's
that's the most visible. That's a very visible.
1,000 other ways to make money. Then why are you doing that?
That's a very visible arm of the Nation of Islam. But there are other ways that we're making money. We have security companies. We have doctors' offices. We have farmland. We have restaurants. We're known for having restaurants. If you go throughout any black community, you'll always find, especially on the Eastern Seaboard, steak and takes. That was a business that was initially established by the Nation of Islam.
Okay, does the Nation of Islam get a profit from those businesses?
Anytime that you have any of these individuals
yes or no, I'm telling you, if this was a trial prosecute, I would have thrown you the fuck out. It's yes or no.
It's not a yes or no. Yes, you get a
yes or no.
No, then the nation does not get a profit.
It profits by. It is a yes or no, and then you can elaborate. Do you understand how questioning works? Does the Nation of Islam profit from those businesses? It's yes or no, and then you can elaborate. But you cannot say no, but what they do is get money on the side. It's yes or no, and then you can elaborate.
Okay. No, the nation doesn't profit.
Okay. So they make not a dime from because you just said, but we have businesses too. So you don't make any money of that. So those businesses got nothing to do with you. So why bring them up? Because if you don't make any profit, why bring them up? Now, second question. Does the Nation of Islam profit from the sales of those newspapers? It's yes or no, and then you can elaborate. Yes or no?
Yes. Okay.
Jesus, getting a yes or no audio is like fucking pulling a dildo
because everything is not so absolute.
No, it is yes or no, and then you can elaborate. It is yes or no. It absolutely is yes or no. Did you drink the coffee? Yes or no? I can't say I didn't drink the coffee. I just took a couple sips. That's how you answer. That's how you answer.
So the nation, so the nation doesn't share in the profits of these businesses, but
then you can't say. Then you cannot say.
Please.
Then you cannot say.
Please?
No, let you
finish. I finish, please?
No, you can't. Then you cannot say we have businesses too. Those aren't your businesses. You just said the nation doesn't profit from those businesses. They don't get a penny. So why are you bringing them up? That's like me saying, we got bodegas in the Bronx. Well, Jen, do you profit from those bodegas? No. Then why the fuck are you bringing them up like you have any parts to do? Well, they're just in, they're in the neighborhood. So similarly, you're saying the nation doesn't just sell papers. You're saying the nation doesn't just sell papers. We got businesses too. We meaning we. But if you don't profit from those businesses, then the nation doesn't have businesses. So you have to make up your mind. Does the nation have businesses or do they not have businesses? Because if you're saying the nation has businesses, then that means you're profiting from those businesses. And if you're not profiting, then those are not your businesses. It has absolutely nothing to do with you. Now, if you're profiting from the final call sales, then that's different. That's different. I know I could be crazy, but to me, 1 + 1 = 2. We have businesses. Who's we? Are you profiting from those businesses? Your answer, sir, was no. That means that you don't have businesses. The people that own those businesses have businesses. You got to make up your mind. You got to make up your mind.
So let's take this into consideration. You have an individual who is a member of the nation who owns a restaurant, and because he's successful in his business, owning that restaurant based upon nation principles and practices and dietary laws, he then also gives charity to the nation. That's how the nation profits off of it, because of the charity that he provides based upon his businesses. So that's the dynamic that I'm talking about. So yes, it's a yes and no in a situation where no, the Nation of Islam as an infrastructure does not share in the profits of his business, but it does receive benefits because he gives charity.
So then they share in the profit. Am I bugging here? Somebody please help me out. He just said they don't share in the profits, but the guy gives them money.
Ish, can I ask you a question? If that's all right, Jen. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
I'm a little delayed, so I apologize. I truly am not trying to be rude. I do want to ask this question. It's when they talk about nation building. So what is the end goal? Because I know that they've been talking about this since my father was a part of it. My aunts, Cleveland, Columbus was huge in during that time, during that era. The Nation of Islam was all my family talked about. But when my mother needed anything, she did it herself. It did not come from the Nation of Islam. So I've always wondered that, like, when my father left us, just to name a time, this was a time he decided to leave. And because they did not like, because my mother was just like me, she had a voice, they were trying to hook him up with another woman in my mom's face, like playing all in her face. And so I've always wondered if the religion in itself here in the United States, especially among Black people, what is the end goal? Because I'm still wondering, what is the nation building as a whole? Like, is it just for Muslims, for Black Muslims, or is this something that Black people can benefit, period? Because you're absolutely right. We used to go to the place to go get our chicken, to go get our good fish sandwiches right in the hood. I just was always wondering, like, where did it go from there in the past, like, 40 years? How much more building does the nation need to do to become profitable? And leave it there.
I don't think there is an end goal in any religion, not just the NOI, but Christianity, Catholicism. I just think it's a business, and it'll always be a business, and it's generational. The generation after Ish and the generation after him, the generation after him, they're going to be out there selling the final calls. It is a business. They're going to keep getting the donations from whoever whoever has the new fish restaurant. It is a business. But as far as, the freedom of people and the building of a nation, it's all BS to me. It is a business. Either you're part of a religion or you aren't. They are social clubs, in my opinion. Some people are Christian, some people are Catholic, some people are Muslim, some people are Muslim light. You know what I mean? To me, it's a business and a social club. That's all it is. And the people at the top profit the most, even in the nation. Even in the nation. But that is how religion is built. The people at the top get the big spoils, and the people at the bottom work for them to get the big spoils. That's how it is. That is how it is. I honestly think it's more beneficial for the individual to join the military. If you need discipline, at least they fly you around, see the world, and they educate you. And I mean,
I'm mad at you, Jen. Did you say they fly you around? No, stop. But Jen, look, I'm gonna tell you this. My aunt dated one of the top dudes in Cleveland at the time. She was messing around with him and had a baby with him. He was one of the he wasn't like right under, like, I guess you could say, of course, I think Elijah Muhammad was still alive, I do believe. Like, that's, you know what I mean? That's how long ago this was. But this was one of like his main dudes or next level down or something like that. But it was close to the top. Because I remember my whole family was in it. Like, we all dressed alike. We had to wear those. I was like, man, I was a little girl. We were dressing like full on with the veil and everything. And it was summertime. Like, for real. That's why I think I don't hardly wear any clothes now, because I was so tired of having to wear all types of craziness in all different religions, even Jehovah's Witnesses. Because, child, I'm still trying to figure that out. Because they said it was only 144,000 going. And I don't know why they still recruit. I don't get that either. Like, but it's the truth. That's what they said. That's what they said. Like I said, religion hasn't been a part of my life for a long, like, it's just crazy how that even plays out, because it is, as women go though, it's very, children are supposed to be seen, not heard. Women are like next. Yeah, you have more women in leadership roles in certain aspects, but it's still not in the dominance of men in across all religions. Like, you can pick a religion.
Nakmeezy just said, sounds like they were looking out for your father. I guess he means you, Chocolate. And he says, blacks are not a monolith. You want the benefits of the nation, join. I'm so glad he said that. I'm so glad he said that, because it goes back to what I said about religion being a fucking social club. And what happens when you are a member of my social club? If your name goes to my desk, right? And I'm part of a social club, and it's like social club on the block with Jen. You are a member of On the Block with Jen. I'm picking you first, because you are a member of my social club. That's how the Nation of Islam works. That's how Christianity works. That's how Scientology works. There's even work in Hollywood that you can get if someone is a Scientologist. And
Exactly. It's just like a college. If you go to Yale. Yeah.
So it's not that your religion or your, you know what I mean, is holier than thou or better than the next religion. No, just that religion had the perks that were beneficial to you. That's all.
Could I go back to that? To what Nakmeezy?
Let's really address that. Let's really address that and scope that out. If somebody is making the sacrifices, let's say a guy is sitting up there and pushing papers on the corner every day, pushing pies, and he's making a little bit of money here and there. Yes, okay, baby. Yes, baby. And he's making these sacrifices, and I have a security company. And that brother, and I say, oh, you know what, brother, I'm going to give you a job today, because I see that you've been doing this. He's made the sacrifices. You can see he's right there in the struggle with you on this whole thing. Of course, you're going to look out for somebody that's in your peer group. That's not something that's odd or something that's insidious to do that. It's just something that's, if they made the sacrifice, why shouldn't they reap the benefits?
But who said, wait a minute, but who said that it's insidious? My issue with it is you acting like it's more than what it is. That's my only issue with it, that you stick religion or Muhammad or a God where you see fit, when what the fuck it really is, black and white like my wall, it is a social club, and you join that social club to reap the benefits. It has a motherfucking thing to do with 77 virgins, a God, or Muhammad. You found a social club that benefits you, and there you are. It's no different than fraternities. It's no different than any other religion on the face of the planet. Let's see. Jehovah's Witnesses do that. I don't really like how they dress. I think the bow tie and the suit is sexy. All I got to do is sell final calls. I'm going to go with the Nation of Islam. Wait a minute. I don't like that. I kind of like the robe. The Buddhists wear the robe. Wait, I like that purple Aladdin outfit. I'll go be a Hebrew Israelite. It is nothing but social clubs, and you pick the one that resonates with you. And the Nation of Islam is very good at I'm a finish. And the Nation of Islam is very good at recruiting broke black men who don't have a fucking clue of who they are or where they should go. Because let me tell you who the Nation of Islam is not going to fucking recruit is a black man with self-determinism who gets up every fucking morning and says, I know what the fuck I'm going to do with my life. I know who I am as a person. Can't nobody tell me I'm the original man or whatever, because I already fucking know that, and I don't have to go sell final calls to prove that to myself. You will not recruit that man. You won't.
Then you have an unclear.
You are going to recruit, like Chocolate said. You are going to recruit the vulnerable. You are going to recruit that man that's on the corner, like, I don't know how else to make a living, so I'm gonna sell these newspapers, or I'm gonna be homeless. That is who you can recruit. The vulnerable.
Do you know who else does the same thing? Do you?
Perspective of the membership of the Nation of Islam.
Do you? I just want to say one thing to everybody. Do you know who does the same thing, the same absolute practice?
Who?
And you might be, and people in the chat or people in the panel might feel a little bit disrespected.
Who?
Pimps and hoes.
Damn.
Well, no, it's not. It's not. It is the same ideology. I mean, when we was growing up in the hood, it's like, no, look, Jen, that's rude, y'all. Come on, man. That's just crazy. No, and I'm gonna tell you why I agree with him. The reason being is it's the same concept of, let me take advantage. Let me tell you that I'm putting you in a better place. But who does it benefit? And I know that's an extreme. However, when we look at the breakdown, and I'm gonna say this as the only other woman on the panel, when you look at religion, it benefits men. They look up to each other. The same idolatry that they say that you're not supposed to do, they do to each other. They lift each other up on these pedestals, and you're not going to tell me that a brother with a perm is going to fly out the sky and save us all. Like, it's not going to go down. People have been saying this since they understood what it meant and was telling people this. Like, the fact that we use that as fear to make people feel like you less than because you're not a part of any of these groups anymore. When I decided to step away from religion, when I said, you know what, I'm cool on all of it. I don't need no, thank you. I can see if I believe that there is a higher power, there's a higher consciousness. Now, where it is, how we get to it, I have no clue, not even gonna pretend, but I see it in everything. The seasons, the animals, the bugs, the sky, so on and so forth. It's magic to me. Can't nobody tell me that, oh, everyone just knew that this is what it was. However, when it comes down to it, it is idolatry. Because when I look at the men that are put up as the ultimate of any of these religions, it is a man. No better or no worse than any other man, because it's not that many women at the top of this hierarchy. Y'all can say I'm tripping, I don't really care, but you know it ain't. It is not that many women in the Nation of Islam, even in Christianity. Yes, you have evangelists, but not on the same level. It just isn't. Men are still in charge of that. And that's why religion has such a big push.
I would say, I would give you pushback on that. Some of the top ministers in the Nation of Islam are women. You got Ava Muhammad, Tanetta Muhammad, like that when it's been addressed, the minister has said, they are my best ministers. and they
I
have been very
understand.
pro. And she was, and let's address the truth. She was a
But what
lawyer.
year?
She hold on,
Right, I
hold on.
understand.
She just
That's not
died
what I'm
this year.
saying, though, sir. Who we
She
were
just
just
died.
talking about. We were talking about still Malcolm X, the Prophet Muhammad, Farrakhan. I don't see any women who have been put up to that level. Not one. Yes, they may be great ministers, which women are. Some of the best. Some of the best preachers, yes. But how long did it take until it got to that place? There's no equality to this. So the fact that in itself makes it an issue for me, especially because it's like being in it, seeing it, I can count how many women had real true power within these religions. Like
I
hands
agree. I
down,
concur
what
with
they
you
said.
in
That's all I'm
relation.
saying. I'm
I
not
agree
saying
with
that
you
there
on
aren't
that
any.
dynamic.
I'm just saying Martin Luther King, all of everybody that's giving you should be like this man. You would even hear women going, I'm like Martin Luther King. No, you're not. No, you ain't. No, you ain't, sis. Because unless you were already in the nation, unless you grew up in the church, no outsider is going to come in and become, you know what I mean, a prophet or prophetess of the nation, just like anything else. You're not going to be an outsider, come out of nowhere. Now, in Christianity, you can pick up a church anywhere. You could become a pastor online. So that's totally different. But I'm not doing any nuance. I'm not negotiating anything. It is just what it is. And I do believe that if it was as balanced as it's prophesized or preached to say that it was, then I don't think you would have all of this. But it always comes down to the same things. You hear about money, you hear about power, you hear about sex, and it's always the same. There's a man at the
Well,
top of that hierarchy.
let me address one in response to that. You're going to always hear about.
I'm sorry, was that me? Or I didn't
Can
hear
y'all hear
him.
me?
He went out. I didn't hear what he said either.
Ish. I
So
think he's
before he comes
having
back,
issues.
really quickly, Chocolate, to your point, I wanted to say, when you say you're not going to debate it or the nuances, it's something that, again, Isha does. It's his niche, actually, his niche, right? Well, when you say there are no, female leaders in the NOI, what he'll say is, well, Farrakhan said that Ava blah, blah, blah is his best thing. I've never heard of the woman. I've heard of Malcolm X. I've heard of Farrakhan, I've heard of Elijah Muhammad, I've heard of Nuri, I've heard of Ben X, I've heard of Riza Islam. Never heard that Ava lady pass when he says, but Farrakhan said that Ava's one of his best ministers. Who is she? Nobody fucking knows her. Unless you're in the nation or someone like him tells you, well, Farrakhan said that Ava's the best one. No one fucking knows her. Which goes back to your point. The women are not upheld like the men are. Just goes back to your point. But what he's going to do is bring in semantics. Well, Farrakhan said one time that the women are some of his best ministers.
Well, you know what,
Can I speak for myself, Jen?
Haven't we heard
Can I
about?
speak for myself, Jen?
We heard about? Really quickly, I want to address the super chat. Okay, because this is a business too. I got to keep the church lights on.
At least she's honest about it.
Don Levon said, the chat. Don Levon said, so if that's the case, then how is the NOI helping the community? If it's just a social club, let me give you my definition of social club. It's right here on Google. Social club is a broad term describing an organization consisting of members that have a shared interest. These clubs allow people interested in an activity or subject to congregate and interact with one another. Common examples include book clubs, movie clubs, hiking clubs, sport clubs, and dance clubs. These are religious clubs, in my opinion. And within any social club, of course, you're going to have help from the other person. Of course, if I was in a book club and Haran told me, hey, do you have that book, blah, 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 I'm going to say, brother Haran, you ain't got to buy that book. I bought it. Here you go. That's what I mean by religion is a social club. It's just some people that get together with a common interest. That's it. Who was talking? I digress.
It's the fellowship part of it. And that's what I think it is. I used to love the fellowship part of it as a child. But as I got older and understood that they was full of shit, That all went away for me. And it went away for a lot of people. You know, they were just trying to drop some statistics about Black women and going to church, blah, blah, blah. And I say to that again. Black women have kept Black churches going because it sure enough ain't been Black men. Because if anything, usually the majority of the Black men that are in the church are the deacons, are the pastors, the associate pastors, the pastor from down the street. But as far as this, where they getting Black folks together, promoting Black love, and it's marriages every Saturday and everybody in love, no. It is a lot of single Black women sitting up in the church, going to church every Sunday praying for a man.
Yeah,
Let's go.
I'd like
Desperation.
to say,
I think the thing that we're missing in this whole conversation, and Jen is right on one dynamic about it being of calling it a social club, but it limits the perspective. We're social beings, and you're talking about a system of practice that is dealt with our sociology, how we interact with one another, what is right, what is wrong, what is good, what is bad, what to eat, what not to eat. That's the dynamics of what a religious quote unquote institution's purpose is. Now, are there people who manipulate that? Are there people who are corrupt in that? Are there people who, in every faith practice that exists? But it does not stop. The purpose of it is the intention of coalescing a community or a body of people. So then, again, you can find it. Go ahead.
Well, I apologize, Ish, but I have to say this. Yes, to what you're saying is very true, but that's not the problem. The problem is become a business, and it has, since they realized they could become a business. Whether it's the business of fear propaganda, to push an agenda, to talk about the laws, and like I said, I respect religion for what it is, right? Because again, we can call it a religion, but it's just a group of people getting together, as Jen defined. Yes, I know a lot of you may not like the simplification of it, and I don't think it limits the scope. The only way you're going to get any other scope of it is if you're in it. When you look at it on the outside, women and people who are not a part of it are on the outside. Men who have scrutinized what those particular religions have said have also been ostracized, pushed aside. You just stated earlier about Malcolm X. When he came in and wanted to try to change what the nation was trying to do or do anything about that, it was upsetting. People found that very bothersome. Don't come in here and try to change anything when you learned it from us. But that goes against what the Quran teaches, which is that you are supposed to teach your next generation, and they should be better than the last. But we don't do that. We got a lot of old heads that think that this is the way and that's it. Yes, you got corruptness in anybody. That's a trait. That is a trait. It doesn't matter about that. What it is that here in the United States, it is a business. Hands down. If you don't have enough people involved, you're not going to make no movement. If there was only 5 people in the Nation of Islam, nobody would care. You wouldn't recruit. You wouldn't do any of those particular things. If you're trying to build something and create something, there should have been a whole Islamic community. You shouldn't have to go to the hood to make business. You shouldn't have to go to the hood to do any of those things. You should have gotten the people that wanted to get out, get them out of there. You know it's going to be gentrified anyway. There's not blocks and blocks of black places across the country that are owned by the Nation of Islam. And I understand now there's changes and we're supposed to look and go, well, you know, he wasn't who he was, but he's who he is now. Well, the things that have already been said still hang in the air. This whole one up about the Jews. Oh my gosh, I'm so tired of hearing about them. I've been hearing about them since I was a little girl.
Child.
And I always felt like this. If y'all were so upset about what the Jewish community, which again is a faith, by the way, and a lifestyle, just like Islam, being a Muslim is something you become. You're not born into it. You don't go, oh, I'm coming into the world and I know I'm a Muslim. No, you're taught that, just like everything else we do here. But in the United States, we always have to put a flash on it, a piece on it. The reason now that the Jewish community is even being talked about at this rate, it wasn't talked about like this at this rate when it was white men saying it. Because white men have been coming at Jews for how long? Since they got here. Because again, they were used as the same rhetoric that was used for Black folks, that was used for Jewish. The same rhetoric that was used for the Spanish not that long ago, or Hispanic, Puerto Rican, go down the list. Anybody that was not Anglo-Saxon, white, and Christian, they got the same conversation. It has not changed at all, and it is 2022. And that's why I'm saying, when does it evolve? Because it hasn't. It is still the same thing. There isn't no great nation of anything. There is no great nation of any type of one particular spot. Me being a single woman, I can't stay single for long if I decide to go into Islam again. Because I'm going to be questioned. I'm going to be asked about that.
I gotta read this comment. Don Levon says, seems like the only people that really benefit from the NOI is the NOI and the Jewish banks that make a profit off lending them money. Going back to what you said, Chocolate, again, the reason why there is no city in the United States of America that's blocks and blocks and blocks and blocks of NOI members is because that's not the end goal. It is a business, and it is open for business and recruits to keep the machine going. But the end goal is to keep the machine and the money coming in. The end goal is not to build a nation of Black people for blocks and blocks and blocks, because how long have they been around saying that they were going to do this? And according to Ish, they have millionaires that are Black and billionaires that are Black, and they have doctors and lawyers and attorneys and fish fries, and they're all NOI members and they're all Muslims. Yet none of them have gotten together to create an entire city for decades and decades. And it's like Jesus coming back. Every religion has their Jesus coming back. And I think the Jesus coming back for the Nation of Islam is one day we're going to own a state, you'll see, and no one will be able to get in that state unless they're NOI. Like, everyone has their Jesus coming back, but there is no end goal. It's never going to happen. It's not going to happen. And
okay, then what is hereafter farms?
Let me finish before you interrupt. And now what they're doing is now diverting to now the Jewish people are the problem yet again. And after everybody gets tired of talking about the Jewish people, then we'll go back to the white devils. Okay, until another celebrity brings up Jewish contracts, music.
It's women.
Right, women. Another rapper brings up he didn't like his contract from the Jewish people. It's always going to be something else. It's never going to be, hey, guess what? We're finally open. It's like waiting for Umar's school, Dr. Umar's school. It's always going to be something. It's all, and now Tariq Nasheed, we're going to get a museum. There's always something with these charlatans. There's always something with these pimp preachers. There's always something. There's always an excuse as to why nothing is being done, because there's no end goal. Right? The goal is keep the money coming in by any means necessary. Okay? When Malcolm acted up, Ish doesn't want to say he was ousted, but his words were, come in here, sit down, and shut up. Oh my, what kind of religion is this? Is this what Muhammad would say? For a difference of opinion. So listen, man.
It wasn't a difference of opinion, but anyway, we won't go into that minutia of that conversation. I mean,
it wasn't what? No, let's go into it because you brought it up. Don't hide your tail now. What did you say?
I'm not hiding my tail, sister. Let me tell you, it was not a difference of opinion.
Okay.
It wasn't that he was trying to change things, but there's an aspect of it. Again, when somebody comes on your show, Jen, there's certain protocols and rules that they follow.
Correct.
And because of that, you have the bully pulpit. You run the ball, and you speak respectfully in the whole nine. So that's the same environment. Yeah. Every social group has that. Hold on. Let me address another point that was made.
No. Let me correct you because you just put something on me. So I'm gonna correct you. The difference between the Nation of Islam and Malcolm and On the Block with Jen is that if somebody did as much work for me on this panel as Malcolm did for the Nation of Islam, they would not get ousted. And if they had a concern and they brought it to me, I wouldn't tell them, sit down and shut up. Because On the Block with Jen would then be a dictatorship. All right? So if someone did for me as much as Malcolm did for the nation, no, they wouldn't be ousted. So do not compare me to the Nation of Islam and Malcolm. It was a stupid comparison, but that's what happens in debates, and that's okay. Okay? But bad comparison. Bad comparison. Nice try, but bad comparison. Anything else?
So in relationship to that, now I'll circle back to the Malcolm thing, but in relationship to that, the nation has land, has 500 acres in Georgia. It's called Hereafter Farms. People can buy into it. They can build out their plot of land and have their own land and their own home and grow food and get taught urban farming and the whole nine of creating a land of our own. So the nation is doing that and is doing this. This is one prime example. You have the same thing going on in Great Britain with the mosque out there. So this is not something that.
Let me ask you, what you said, they had acres where?
500 acres in Georgia.
Who owns it?
Each individual buys their plot of land, bought their plot of land.
Each individual? Who are the individuals? You
Different,
mean like anybody in the nation could go buy a plot of land and hang out next to another
absolutely.
plot by the nation?
Absolutely.
That's who owns it?
Absolutely. Anybody. Even if you're not in the nation, you can buy a plot of land there.
Is there a place for the homeless or the elderly?
It's still small. It's evolving. It's not something that is complete. It's in this process.
So evolving and in the process. Alonzo Hall, the All-Star, just said, Boozy Badass owns 75 acres alone, and it didn't take almost 100 years in the nation. I believe Kanye West owns how many acres too? Someone had quoted it. He owns a certain amount of acres somewhere. So again, you have an entire nation that's been around for decades, who's the net worth, if you believe Google, $75 million. I'm sure the nation has way more money than that. With all the collaborations they do with the white devil, I'm sure they got way more money than that. But when you look at stories like this, right? Boozy Badass, 75 acres. Kanye West, another acres. Dave Chappelle, another acres. It's taken a fucking nation and decades and decades and decades, and you telling me they got a couple acres where? Do you see how this is?
I didn't say a couple acres. I said 500 acres, and then you go into the history.
Acres, and how long did that take?
If we go into the history of the Nation of Islam, when we go into the history of the Nation of Islam and the different businesses that existed across the country, from cleaners to grocery stores to restaurants, and we're talking about when the nation owned it. When the nation owned it, it had $1 million fishing industry in the 60s. When the nation owned it. After the departure of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, ministers started the nation up again and started a whole different process where now the individuals can own stuff versus the nation as an organization owning something. Because what happened was when the Honorable Elijah Muhammad passed on, governments, families were feuding over all this property and stuff. And so now the minister is like, we don't own anything. It's going to be the believers and the people that own these things. And that's been the intention of the minister. So that now the people profit off of it and not just one individual.
Who believes that here?
So could I ask another question?
I was about to ask how much is the fee?
Right. I was going to ask that. And I wanted to also ask, so you said it's 500 acres. Okay. So when we talk about it being a business, so who purchased the 500 acres and now is selling them separately? So basically the 500 acres was already there and they are now selling separate parcels to people?
I don't know the full dynamics of the business, so I can't speak on that. I have never heard. Hold on. I don't know.
You're so nuanced with everything else, but this is the question that stumped you. You're so nuanced with everything else, but this one, I don't have the information. I'm not surprised.
I don't have it. I'm just telling you. But I mean, it's out there. You can click on hereafterdevelopments.com and find out.
So, Ish, you never wanted to do this as well with your family?
I'm not in a position to do this right now.
Okay, so let me ask you this, and I'm not trying to be funny. So is it you're not in the financial position to do it because it's
No,
not
I'm not in the
affordable?
financial. I'm personally not in the financial position to do that right now.
So why isn't, if you're nation building, then why not allow people who are a part of the Nation of Islam, regardless of whether they can pay for it or not, why can't they help them pay to build a home, and then in return you work, or you build this type of business, or you work in this type of capacity? Why isn't it set up that way?
I, because again, I haven't sought it out. I haven't even expressed the whole drive to do it. I'm a poor money manager. I have issues in relationship to that. So, I'm working on developing that within myself. But in relationship to that, I mean, I just haven't gone down that road to see what the opportunities are that exist with it. That's all.
Okay, so they don't have money management inside the Nation of Islam? They don't teach that either?
They do teach that. And I'm saying that again, things are taught and they're not imposed. So that means that if you choose to go down this road of study or this course of study or this
No,
course of
sir.
development,
I'm asking you personally, sir.
I'm
If
I'm
they
I'm,
have the
say, I'm saying to
classes,
me personally,
do
I'm
you have
speaking
to
personally.
pay for
I'm
them,
speaking. No,
or are they free?
they're free.
Are they online?
Some of them are aligned, and I know that there's a sister that runs a thing that's free that helps people with business and money management. And I mean, there's a lot, and in the class, in our FOI classes, it is taught. But if as an individual, when I say you, I'm saying as an individual, when you go out there, you can study whatever course or what direction you want to go. And I just haven't gone down those paths.
Through the
And that's
Wait,
Nation
me.
of
I have a
Islam?
question.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Wait. I have a real question.
Can we just acknowledge Don Levon's donation? He's paying his tithes to the church on the block with
Oh
Jen,
my
y'all.
God.
Can we get an amen? Thank you,
Yo,
brother.
if God is real and I have to really explain to this man on a panel on December 8th, 2022, I was on a panel with a woman named Jen Garcia. I swear to God, I'm gonna have no answers. I'm like, just send me down. But but why is the way internet money works, these kids younger than us are making hands over fist full of money at a rapid pace.
Throw it for
Why
God.
is the NOI antiquated with the farmland? I think you can just like have like a little supermarket in a certain section of those acres, and everybody else just do stuff more up to date. But it feels antiquated, that strategy.
But all
I don't know.
religions
Well,
are archaic. They're archaic, except for
well,
maybe
let's
Scientology.
in answer to your question, we believe that land ownership and owning land gives you the freedom that we require and that we desire. We have brothers that are into digital real estate. His name is Brother Ben X. He goes into he goes into not just free courses, but he does have courses that he does sell in digital real estate and how to master the digital realm, whether it be Bitcoins, YouTube, whatever. That's his thing. You know what I'm saying? He teaches on that. So we have those that are advancing in that dynamic. But land ownership, being able to grow your own food, being able to produce products for people, because people have to eat, people have to have clothes, people have to have shelter. Well, to be able to produce those type of things and be producers and not just consumers, you have to have land to do that. So we're about buying land and getting property and doing those type of things. So that's what the nation's drive is towards this quote unquote nation building process.
But
Well,
doesn't
what
make
about greenhouses and aquaponics and aeroponics and hydroponics?
Yeah,
It doesn't. That's like 30 to 55 days turnaround. You could sell those globally.
yeah,
Well, you
that's what I'm
can, and
saying.
there's urban farming and hoop housing and the whole nine. All that exists within the nation. There's different individuals that think just like you do, that say, hey, I'm going to contribute my intelligence to this dynamic, and they focus in on that. It's a very diverse body of people. It's not just one little church. So when people I identify the nation being this one monolith. It's not. It's very diverse in relationship to different aspects and avenues. So there are, I could point to them. I'm not a minister in the nation, so I don't go out there and have all this contained in my mind. I'm going through my growth and development in it. I actually been working on being a better filmmaker for a great many years and a father. So from that dynamic, I haven't really sat down and said, okay, well, I'm a memorize every aspect of what goes on in the nation and then go out and proselytize it. That's not my role. I'm not even here to do that. I'm here to just share a different form of thinking. That's it.
But just to be
Well, I
clear,
mean, I just wanted to be clear, if that's okay. I'm not saying or discounting the size. I'm not calling it a monolith. No one is a monolith. What I am asking those questions for is because I am the person who is into that. I am a person who believes in purchasing property and giving people an opportunity, because everybody can't wait on buying into something, and they have benefits that they can take care of and assist with other people. Like, I've bartered with a lady, and I'm going to build her house for her, and she's going to bring in what she has, apart something that I don't have. But we, instead of waiting for us to either have enough money or her to have enough money to give me to do anything, we're exchanging in another way. And I guess that is when the in the topic of conversation, and not just the Nation of Islam, but this is with every religion. It is not easy to get assistance when it comes to the churches or to the nation or to any of these particular places. You have way too many Black homeless men for the Black churches and the Nation of Islam and any the Hebrew Israelites. I thought it was about being a person of color first and looking out for your community rather than the religion. But what ends up happening is that the religion takes more precedence over human and social need.
Well, I
That's
would
my
say,
issue with it.
let me share with you this, and I don't know your experience, so I can't speak to that, but I can speak to what I've seen. I've been in the Nation of Islam since 1989. I've been around and been in different cities and seen different things. Each city kind of has its own kind of nuances to it. In LA, I know that we've had what are called FOI houses, where there was somebody who owned some real estate, owned some property, owned a house, or had an apartment building, and we housed different brothers, gave them opportunities, gave them work opportunities, gave them housing. They also set up different situations for brothers like that, where if they didn't have the funds, this is where you can start making money, and then you can go on to these other situations. Or I know somebody that had, where I'm working right now, somebody gave me, one of the brothers says, I know somebody over here, brother, if you need an opportunity, check out this lady over here. She wasn't in the nation, but she supports the nation and is down with it. And she hired me without having all the skills necessary, but saw that I could grow into the position. So there are those type of opportunities that exist in throughout the nation. I don't know, like I said, about your personal experiences, but I can say that I can count from across the nation,
can
from
I want
Atlanta to LA to that exists.
hold on, Ish. I do want to welcome Nakmeezy to the panel, and I want to pass the mic to him because I know he's always pressed for time. But going back to what you said, Ish, isn't that going back to what I said, that usually these social clubs cater to men who don't have self-determinism or down on their luck? Respectfully, not picking on you. There are men that are out here and think, I got to get my own fucking job. I got to pay my bills. I got to have my own place, et cetera, right? They don't need a help from a brother at the church. They don't need a help from a brother who asks a woman who's not in the church to, can you hook my boy up? Yeah, because, hey, this lady over here got a job. See, there's two different types of people on the planet. So don't you think that religion specifically caters to men who have no self-determinism, women who have no self-determinism, where you needed that favor from that person who knew that lady who was just supportive of the nation. Another man woke up today and said, I need a motherfucking job. I'm going to get my career. I'm going to finish school. I got kids to feed. I got a mortgage to pay. Do you see the difference? This is what I'm talking about. How
Well,
religion.
I would say if we're going to go on an individual dynamic, I reflected that level of self-determinism, and there was an opportunity that came in front of me because I was making a change.
Okay.
But I mean, and you know me as a filmmaker, you know that as a first AD, that was how I got down. But I also knew that when I became a single father, that I needed to do something a little bit more traditional, and working, 12 hours production wasn't going to help raise this female child that I have. So I had to get into something that was outside the scope of what I normally do. Brothers saw that, said, "Oh, Brother Ish is a good brother. Let me put you in contact with this sister over here, and this will set you up in a better situation so that you can move forward in the goals that you have." That was brotherhood. That's not a bad thing. I think that that's actually, one good aspect of what exists. Not everybody in the nation is down on their luck or has difficulties, but I know that I have a brotherhood that I can rely upon. There are a bunch of businessmen that are in the nation that own multi-million dollars worth of businesses. Nature's Finest Security Company, one of the largest security companies that exist in the country that's black owned, has top tier talent. The brother's a multimillionaire, and he's been in the nation for a number of years and does very well for himself.
Okay.
Oh wait, Magnesia, right?
Yeah.
Hey, thanks, man. Thank you. I appreciate it. What up, Jen? How's it? How you doing?
¿Qué pasa?
I'm chilling, chileando, tú sabes. So, oh man, the toxic femininity, the beta male energy that's oozing from this panel. Jesus
Magnesia,
Christ.
don't do it. Don't do it.
I
Don't.
have to do it. Lo tengo que hacer, Jen. Déjame hacerlo.
No. Give us your POV.
All right. My POV is that I actually have a group that does work in the Black community. I actually work with the Nation of Islam's chapter in England, fighting and combating knife crime in England. I have members in my group that are NOI who can't be public in my group because you can't have two allegiances, but they support what I do. That being said, I don't believe in religion. I'm very well versed in it. I grew up a Nation of Islam adjacent, 5% Nation adjacent, Sunni Muslim adjacent, Jehovah's Witness, based on who my mom was dating, based on the religious beliefs of my uncles at that time, coming up in New York City in the 80s and the 70s. So I pretty much, it boils down to, I respect other people's views, right? And I respect their belief systems. So if I could say, well, the Nation of Islam, this is wrong with it, and that's wrong with it, and that's wrong with it, okay, I could be a negative Nancy. Or I could say, well, what are they doing that I do agree with, right? So the program in the South where they have the it's like land, that's a real thing, because I went on a website looking to see if it was on some BS, and it's real. So I think when we just, one of the sisters, and salute to her, is asking the hard questions, but sometimes the questions seem to be coming from a place of, when a brother says it's XYZ, yeah, but let me ask you a question. We're trying to knock each other down instead of listening with a positive ear. Now, when I said that beta male energy, I'm speaking to Ish. Brother, it pains me to hear you getting ragdoll on this panel because you're being too polite. There's a difference between having discipline and respect for our sisters, our women, and allowing them to ragdoll you. You allowed
Excuse
the other
me.
sister to wait. Hold on,
Excuse
and I'm
me.
not going
No,
to do that.
because you're not going to accuse
I'm
me
not
of
gonna
that,
do
and I was
that.
not
I did
rogged down
respectful,
in this man. I was
and
asking him a
wasn't
question.
speaking about you specifically. See, this is what
But you
happens when
were.
we
I
speak
was
out
the
the
only
phone.
one who said it. I'm the
I'm
only one
gonna
up here, other than Jen.
no, you're not. I'm gonna just let me finish. Let's show some discipline. So when I said the ragdoll, just to speak on your point, Jen ragdolled him when he said, "Yo, don't cut me off," rah 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 rah, and I'm the same way. But that energy is different than a brother's energy when you, sis, cut him off and then he allowed you to rock. So don't allow your kindness to be taken as weakness, brother. If this platform is a place where they're gonna keep just treating you like a redheaded stepchild, then maybe you gotta bounce or assert your masculine energy. It doesn't mean you have to be mean, but you don't have to allow people to disrespect you, because the first time they do it is gonna continue to happen. You see what I'm saying? So look, disrespect people's religions and stuff, but brother, don't allow people to disrespect you because you're being too nice in the face of disrespect and ridicule.
Are you done, Nakmizi?
Are you finished or are you done?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm done.
So
Well, if you don't mind, oh, go ahead, Jen.
Wait. Let one at a time because y'all did the female feminist attack on him. I'd rather deal with y'all respectfully one on one. So who won it first?
Well, I want it first. First thing is,
Well,
I'm not a feminist. Let's start there. Show discipline, Nakmizi. I let you speak uninterrupted. The first thing is, I'm not a feminist. Second thing is, yeah, this is my panel. So I'm not going to let a man or a woman talk over me when I'm talking. Ish has a bad habit of not having discipline. When I'm talking, he wants to jump in because he wants to get his point across, which is fine, long as there's one mic. And I say that whether you're a man or a woman. I think your views are misogynistic because what you're telling Ish is don't let a woman talk over you. Don't let a woman rag you. Yet I'm up here and I don't let men or women talk over me if I have a point to say. That's how it works here. I am not special. This is just the panel that you're on, and I'm running it because I want everybody to have a moment to speak. I even interrupt people talking over each other because I like to hear the point. And if we're all yelling and arguing, no one can hear what the fuck they're saying. As far as Ish, if he felt disrespected or anybody feels disrespected, they can bounce. But you can't come up here and claim something and proclaim something and think you're not going to be questioned. Those people should not be on public platforms or social media. If I am telling you I have a belief system, then you have every right to question me. So I don't know where you got the ragdoll and the feminists and the tag teaming. I don't know where that came from. With that said, Brother Ish could speak for himself. He's not a
can I
child.
respond to you real quick just to clarify?
Yeah, but then I
The
want to pass.
ragdoll.
Wait a minute.
Okay,
I want to pass the mic to Chocolate because I know she feels a certain way, and I would like her to respond to what you said as well. But go ahead.
but let me deal with yours and then I'll deal with hers. Like I said, each at a time. So there's a way to respectfully disagree, right? So when you were kind of like, like I guess imitating how he was responding and like G checking him like bang bang like cutting him down. It's a way of almost like snipping his balls. You understand what I'm saying? And you have to keep people on point. So salute to you for that. But there's a way that we handle each other and listen to each other with a positive ear. And if they're on some bullshit, check them. Absolutely. Like if he can't give a yes or no, then check him on that. But if it's gonna involve kind of ridicule, that's when, in my opinion, it's like ragdolling. Now, as far as the femininity, that wasn't to you. That was to the other sister who I'll give a chance to respond to me now.
Go ahead, Chocolate. Chocolate, you there?
Girl, yeah, I'm here.
Okay.
I'm praying to this false prophet over here. So, I'll say this. I don't rag on anybody. And I was not asking the questions because of any kind of disrespect. My question is because, again, as a woman in religion, as a Black woman who was raised in Islam, not adjacent, but actually in Islam, I am aware of how they look at what you can and what you can say, what you can do, how you should dress, makeup, no hair, all whatever the list. They got a list for everything. But to Brother Ish, I'm not disrespecting him in any way. I was asking because that's the same line of business, quote unquote, I'm in. I'm in agriculture. I'm in purchasing property to assist the homeless men or women, homeless families. I don't care what your faith is. Whether you're Muslim, whether you are agnostic, atheist, you still need food in your stomach and you still need a roof on your head. Now, no, I do not appreciate being typecast as a toxic woman because I'm not. I'm about my community, and I don't care whether you got balls or not. If I see you and you need help with something, then I will help you. I will give you information. I will do it for you if that's necessary. I don't care whether or not you have titties or not. I don't care whether you fat, whether you skinny, white, black, blue, or green. I, on the other hand, unlike a lot of the people that I hear talk about this subject, are so stuck on being men and masculine and femininity and all of this when you have no idea what the definition and the details behind how it even showed up in the first place, because that conversation never comes up. So that's fine. If you feel a certain type of way, that's the perspective you have of me, by all means. But at least talk to me and have a conversation with me first for you jump and assume whether or not I'm toxic or not. All I want to see is a betterment of my community, because none of these religions have assisted in getting black people out the hood. They ain't helping the single mama. They ain't helping the single father. It shouldn't even be a question at all, because they make more than enough money. You know what $75 million could do for a group of people who are out here struggling? The men who are out here struggling, whether they're single parents or not, the homeless veterans that are out here who practice Islam, the homeless felons that's out here that don't have jobs or anywhere to lay their head at night. And it's going on right now, and it's 2022. So if you feel that I'm toxic because I care about my community, then that's on you. But please don't address me like that again. I don't know you. I don't know of you. This is the first time you and I are having a conversation. And I would appreciate if you feel like that you need to say something to me. My email is on my webpage. My email is on my Chocolate Earth YouTube channel. You are more than welcome to ask me whatever you want, because I don't care. Because I have nothing to prove to you nor anyone else. It is about being respectful to all, not just one because they have a dick between their legs. So thank you very much, Jen.
I also
All right,
want
now, may I respond?
Nakmeezy, hold on. I want to say something, but I do want to pass the mic to Brother Ish, because I feel like he's some little child that everybody's talking about. He has a voice of his own. He can say how he felt on his own. But I do want to say to your point, Nakmeezy, when you said, why aren't we looking at the positives that the nation does? I am one. I don't know how many times you watch the channel, but I am one that says I would never denounce the nation or Farrakhan to anybody. I know they've done great work. I know they have built the nation of scrubs into men that wear suits and get jobs and take care of their family. They do the same thing for women as well. So I look at the positives as well. But again, we are going to challenge and we're going to ask these questions because we're talking about hundreds of millions of dollars, right? So we have every right to ask, where's the fucking money, right? That's just normal, right? But I do want to pass the mic to Brother Ish, because I'm like, I feel like he's some little, you know what I mean, wilting flower. That's, you came in caping for him. I want to know what Brother Ish has to say.
I responded to you. Can I respond to the sister who just spoke to me, and then I'll just I'll bounce or listen in the background.
I would apologize. You don't have to waste your time and respond to me. You made it very clear how you felt about me when you came up.
I'm not speaking to you though. I want to respond to your point, because we're having a dialogue. We're not going to be dismissive.
Well, then if you're not speaking to me, then that's not a dialogue, sir. Then you have to.
Okay, then
that
I'll
makes
speak
no
to the
sense.
panel then, or I'll speak to the chat. This is the energy that I'm talking about, the dismissive energy. When I first started listening, it was, how come there's no women in the religion and women aren't represented? Historically, women have not been well represented in religion, and I understand why women would turn their backs on it. I get it. But when I'm speaking about the bad faith questioning, when the brother spoke about, ministers in the nation, yeah, but I never heard about that, or this and that, or the other aspect of when he spoke about the land. Good morning.
Well, just to be clear, I didn't say that.
Is that it?
I did not question him
Hold on,
about
give me a
that.
second, sis. Give me a second, sis. So, and the other issue was like where you said, well, there's land and we did this, and that's a true thing. You said, well, are there homeless people do you have homeless people? What are you doing for this and what are you doing for that? We're listening to what the brother says with a negative ear. It's like no matter what he says, it's like we're trying to cut him down, and it's, instead of saying, okay, well, that's good, it's like, well, what about this? What about that? Are there frogs with pancakes on their head jumping around? No, y'all was trying to jump him, and that's not right. And he's over here taking it, and it's like, yo, I know Jen said he sounded
take
like.
that up with Ish.
Well,
Right.
why are you still talking?
That's why I want to pass the mic. That's why I want to
But I'm
pass the
saying,
mic.
you see what I'm saying?
Exactly, because you're
It's all put to cut
disrespectful.
people off. No,
You're
I didn't disrespect you once.
disrespectful and you
I didn't
nasty.
disrespect you
I
once.
never
I
talked to
didn't
that man
disrespect
like
you
that. I
once.
never raised
I
my
didn't
voice to him.
disrespect you once,
I
and I
never
didn't cut
said
you
in
off
a
either.
disrespectful
I didn't
tone.
cut you off either. I didn't cut you off either. I never interrupted you, but you interrupted me several times. This is what I'm talking about. This is why I had to come up here, because y'all jumped him and he's being extra respectful. If he's going to be respectful, reciprocate. That's all I'm saying.
Okay, you done? Because I do want to pass the mic to the man you're caping for. I think that would be
Caping is also a disrespectful term. I'm not a simp. I'm not caping. I'm a man. I got businesses. I'm not a simp, but I'm not going to allow something to happen and not speak on it, sis. Come on now. Caping?
so
That's simp talk.
okay. So let's be intellectually honest. The first words out your mouth when you jumped up on the panel, you called the men betas, which is an insult, and you said the women were toxic, which is another insult. You did not come in here seeking peace and resolve for the panel. You came up here swinging. And then when people retaliate in conversation, you said, look, that's what I'm talking about. Yet you came up here very hostile. So let's be intellectually
I
honest.
came up here joking, Jen, speaking Spanish and joking, right?
Because I'm still speaking, just have some discipline like you preached about. Okay. You came up here swinging. When people come in swinging, they're looking for a fight. Okay. But with that said, I would like to pass the mic. Brother Ish, are you okay?
Can I ask a question? I was called a beta. I think I might have left the room. I was called a beta
No,
for
no,
some
no. Hold
reason.
on, hold on. Let's not dive down the rabbit hole at all.
Yes, Haran, you
Brother,
beta cuck. That's what you are, sir.
let me say. Hold
Oh,
on.
okay,
Let me say this.
okay.
I appreciate the brother stepping in and speaking on behalf of the brotherhood.
You sound
I
far
appreciate
away. You
you.
sound far away.
Do I? Hold on.
Yes, you sound far away.
Hold on. Let me switch my miking situation, and then maybe that's the deal. Is
That's
this
better.
better?
Yes.
Okay. I appreciate brothers stepping up and the brotherhood. Yes, I'm being very respectful. I'm respectful for one. This is Jen's channel. I've known Jen for a great many years. I'm very familiar with her personality dynamics, so I'm not offended by when she responds in the manner she does. I'm also to developing myself in another level. So that's why I'm even on this channel. And to walk away from a confrontation and lose my demeanor or my dynamics would be disingenuous to my training and my development. So I strive to kind of maintain my discipline, even in the face of an onslaught of intense communication. That's fine. I understand the emotions that come behind it. I understand that there's issues and trauma behind it. So all that is a nuance that I sit back and I'm observing and interacting with. I'm not offended, and I don't feel ragdolled. I do, when I do have an issue, I call Jen directly and speak to her and say, hey, I have a problem with A, B, and C. And she gives me a review of what she perceives. So don't take my humility in relationship to this panel as being mealy mouthed or milk toast. It's just, again, it's me developing. I'm dribbling with my left in certain scenarios, and I'm growing in the development of that. But I'm challenging myself, so I'm open to accepting the challenge and growing into being a better representative of it. And I've leaned into certain areas in the nation that Jen knows that have propelled me very high in the nation. But at the same time, there are other areas where I need to strengthen, and so that's a truth that I own and that I walk with. So that's why I'm actually even here.
Haran, you
I
wanted
just
to
like
say?
to say something real quick.
Yeah.
I just like to say something. I mean, he referred to the men on the panel as betas. Why was that? Maybe I wasn't in the room. Like, why? What was the reasoning behind that?
Nagmeez, do you want to answer that?
No, it wasn't that I was referring to the men as betas. I said there was some beta energy and some toxic feminist energy. Not anything personal, but
Okay.
it was seemed a little like that. And I was speaking specifically about the brother Ish.
Oh, okay. Um,
So, like I said,
all
I
right.
don't take offense to it. It
Wait,
doesn't reflect who I am, and so that's fine. And the brothers that you're working with in Great Britain, you mentioned Brother Ish, they'll speak of me very respectfully, and they know me. So, in this environment, and like I said, I appreciate you. I appreciate you stepping up and saying, "Hey, I'm looking out for my brother," and how you felt. So, I accept that and move with that. But in relationship to all this, like I said, I'm welcoming all challenges. I'm welcoming all questions. I don't shy away from it. I also strive not to just use quotisms and some of the traditional tropes that are known via the nation, but really being able to stand upon my understanding of the word, my understanding of the teachings, and reflect it just based upon the person that I represent here on this panel. So, I mean, I could easily just speak, every quote from the minister, and Jim would tell you, I lean in her ear sometimes. She's like, I don't want to hear another word. But I'm really trying to develop in another angle, so I'm dribbling with my left on this one, brother.
Nakmeezy, you want to respond?
No, I'm listening with a positive ear, Jen.
Thank you. Chocolate, you good? Everybody good?
I'm good.
Chocolate.
Like
You good, baby.
I'm
You good,
no,
baby. You good,
Woo,
darling.
child.
We're gonna
Yep.
go on that. We're
we
gonna
I'm
need
go
to.
on that hot
good.
air balloon,
I'm
Booker. We're gonna go on that hot air
listen.
balloon.
I know, baby.
We're
That's
gonna
how I
get
live.
down.
Cause I ain't on it.
And
But
and let
yeah,
me let me
I'm
say this,
listen. I'm
Chocolate.
good.
Can I say this on behalf? Can I say something?
Sure.
Pardon me for interrupting you there, but on
No,
behalf
no
of the nation,
problem.
I know that,
Yeah.
like I said, I've been in this in quite some time, and I've seen people do it right, and I've seen people do it wrong, and on there is a good intention at the root of the teachings of the nation. I believe that the teachings themselves is very pure and right and exact, and I know that in the practice, just like in anything, there are a lot of people who deviate, and there are individuals who do things wrong. So I would invite you to review, or just like Magnesia said, participate in the good that's there, and whatever you don't see that is good, then you throw that away. But there, in my personal experience, there's a lot of good at the core of it, and many people are growing into being able to manifest it. And that's the challenge that I find that we all are dealing with.
Well, I think that about all religions. I think Scientology has some amazing points. You know what I mean? NOI too, Christian, all of them, all of them. I'm just not.
Yeah. I mean, you can pull from a buffet. And oh, I'm sorry. It's delayed. I apologize. Let me not cut you off. I don't want my toxic femininity to rub all over everyone. So let me put my mic back up.
Let's be toxic, baby. Let's be toxic together. We need some baby oil chocolate.
Where is Jesus?
Listen.
Y'all need some Jesus.
Listen.
That's what y'all need.
It ain't needed me, Jesus. It sure enough ain't me.
Yeah, I see why
And I will say this,
uh-huh.
Jen, I will say this, and to Ish and to everybody on the panel. I'm very passionate about my community. I am a black woman in the fucking United States of America. It's a bitch to be here. Okay? Now, no, is it like any other countries? No. Do I have to, worry about some things? Yes. Are there prejudices and biases in the whole nine? Yes. Are there a lot of confused men in this world? Yes. I do believe that. But unfortunately, at the core of everything, it's just like at the core of sex. At the core of it, it's a beautiful thing, but it can be just misconstrued and weaponized and abused and taken advantage of. But all I was saying, and my reasoning for my questioning is, had nothing necessarily to do with just pick on the Nation of Islam. You're not the only group that owns land that is offering it to people of color. My question has always been, what exactly is going on? And not that I'm checking pockets, because that's not it. I just wonder about when we talk about assisting others or giving people opportunity to dust themselves off, man or woman, or however they identify, that we allow them a grace that is not given. That's all I'm saying. We have a tendency to look down upon those who have had a bad run of life. None of us chooses our parents or where we're going to be born and how it's going to imprint on us. Only we can do is control the reaction. And when I hear other men talk about how they're going to help the community, I think about the 85% rate of Black boys that's in public schools across this country that cannot read. How do I know that? Because I've worked in the school system. The fact that the DV is at its highest it's ever been in the last 20 years. And I don't hear men jumping up and down and caping about that. I also don't hear about the level of men and their families, including men, wife, children, who are living in tents and in boxes on the streets of major cities across the country, regardless of religion. This is my place and where I come from when I talk about community. It has nothing to do with just it being a religion. I do believe that there's a bad faith in there where all this money comes in and what is turned out is not the same thing. The money don't match the actions. That's my problem. So that's for anybody on the panel, anybody in the chat that's not clear about me and my toxic femininity. Yes, I stand on my square and my 10 toes that I want to assist the community, and I'm going to do it the way that I think should be done. And if not, that's fine. Some would agree with me, some would not. What I hear from men in this space is, oh no, they don't want to donate or help me out. They want to tell me I need a man involved. And I've had men from different religions say that to me. So am I a little tight where that comes from when men try to come at me sideways? When, okay, you stopping people from knife fights, good for you. But I'm just talking about feeding people and putting them in a home, giving them an opportunity to breathe and take care of their families. I think that's a right everyone should have. But again, that's me. I'm politically driven. I'm community driven. Yes, I'm a woman first, by the way, if anybody didn't realize. And so and I'm also Black. I identify as that. So those particular communities are important to me. So I leave it there.
And I want to pass the mic to No Saint, and then we're going to close soon. But I just want to put this out there really quickly. We all have our way. Everyone that's on my panel, I told y'all before, no cap, I'm truly in love with this panel and the people that contribute. And I'm happy to see you guys. I see certain names and I'm like, all right, this is going to be a good fucking show because of certain names, including all of you on the panel. No fucking cap. We all have our way. I talk a certain way. Chocolate talks a certain way. Haran talks a certain way. Ish talks a certain way. Tristan, No Saint, and everybody else, our regulars. Damien talks a certain way. People that come up and Alicia, everybody has their own fucking way. And the thing is that we're getting to know each other on these machines. And I don't get offended even when y'all are yelling. I hope y'all don't get offended when I'm yelling. Me and Haran have got into it, but it's like, this is what adults do. We're trying to figure it out. I think at the core, we're all good people who care about our people. So if anybody feels a ways, like Brother Ish said, he could call me. He has my number, right? Probably gonna curse him out in private too, but still, he has the opportunity, to bring in whatever his issues are. But this is discourse. This is how we talk. This is how we are. We're passionate people. But I don't rag people unless I loathe you, and you will know, because I will drop you from the panel and you will never be back up here again. I think I made it clear who I think is a degenerate and who I don't care for. But I don't have people around me just to rag them or whatever the description was. I'm not a feminist. I'm not any of that. But it's cool. We're all getting to know each other as we go. I like Nakmeezy's comments too. I just think he was a little off this time, coming in swinging. But I do appreciate his point of view too. I'm not, bashing any religion. I hate all of them. I hate all of them. So with that said, I wanted to pass the mic to No Saint. He's been very quiet watching the coloreds fight.
I just want to say one thing. Not me though. I don't care about none of y'all. Let's just make that clear. Nah, go ahead,
I
Haran,
know
bro.
it.
Haran, you
You
can talk that.
always,
You can
I knew
talk
you
that
was
New
one of
York.
those regular
You
blacks.
can
I
talk.
knew it, Haran. I knew it.
Haran, you can talk all that, but you know what? I know the man that I've seen, and I'm very impressed with you, beloved. And so you keep doing what you can play that hard New York thing if you want to.
Peace and love, man.
See,
Yeah,
I
man.
told you, Haran's gonna be the first one to stab us in the back when the revolution comes. Watch. I'll keep telling y'all.
Don Lamont said, motherfuckers coming up here trying to tell us how to talk to our family members.
Oh shit.
No, look. Like I
Yo,
said, I
you
got
know,
nothing. I got nothing but respect for Magnesium, and he could reach out to Brother Hakeem or Ishmael down there, and they'll tell you about Brother Ish. But you know, I appreciate that. I mean, you know, that's just brotherhood. Like he stepped up and he expressed it. I mean, the beta confident, I was like, you know, I took exception to, but it's fine. It doesn't land because it doesn't reflect who I am internally.
Matt means he just came up with some New York energy. It happens.
It
It
happens.
happens. It
Hey,
happens. It
listen,
happens. That's why I
when he
was
started
like,
going off, I was just like this. Oh, he about to get schooled.
just
But you know, I would say this too. A lot of
Can't.
times, you
I
know,
can't.
when we're
I was like,
dealing with a lot of times when we're dealing with women, especially in this environment, it's very aggressive and very disrespectful. So I really strive to like be the alternative to that as well. I'd rather listen to the dynamic, and I can hear through a circumstance that's pain versus being personal. I can hear through a dynamic that's a passion versus it being an attack. So I don't necessarily respond a certain way because I understand where it's coming from, and I really strive to listen. So you know, I would invite us as just men when we're listening to a lot of the women speak in the pain that exists. It's a real point. Like these are valid issues because as women, they wouldn't be feeling the way they felt if we were doing our job as men. Now we may be doing it as individuals, but as a collective community, we're not doing our job. And with that, you're hearing the pain. And when you hear the pain, you gotta sometimes submit to hearing the pain instead of checking it and saying you're talking wrong or you're not speaking to me with respect. Well, I mean, you're dealing with pain right now. It ain't about you at this moment. We're vetting through a problem right now that we as men who have the responsibility as leadership in the community to sit down and listen to the pain and then address it and make the change. It's not to sit up there and battle it. It's to turn around and say, you know what? Okay, I hear you. Okay, now this is what we can do in the future and move forward. And that's not beta. That's really more alpha than anything.
Yeah, I agree.
Well,
I
I
think
think us men
I
have lack empathy at times because it's like they're telling us, but we're like, oh, why are you yelling at me? Obviously, she's frustrated. So why don't we just take a moment and like, just okay, what is she trying to say instead of reacting to what she says?
Well, I just don't like
no
being
shame.
accused. I just felt it was disrespectful for him to come up here and accuse Jen and I of tag teaming Ish. Her, what she said to him in comparison to what I said to him, these were two different lanes. We were talking about several different things at one time. And like I said, that's how I know he don't know me anyway. Because if anything, I try to be as patient as possible. And I done had some of Jen's guests come at me real sideways. And never have I just come out of pocket cussing people out, calling them out their name, calling them toxic and nasty. No. Does anybody remember the conversation that me and well, not conversation, but me being who was that? Was it Big Truck? Is that his name? I don't know what his name is.
Big Truck.
Was it Big Truck? He came at me all crazy. I didn't see nobody jumping up and going, you know what, bro, you shouldn't talk to her like that. Blah blah blah. No. No, and usually in these spaces, especially online, it is nasty. It's crazy out here. Some of these men come at you like the minute they know you are a woman, it's like "Boop, my ears. If you ain't making my dick hard, I can't hear you. And that's how it comes off. And it's like you talking about stepping on somebody's balls, and I'm like, if the issue is to emasculate, aren't you doing it to a fellow man by saying that he's allowing himself to be this and that? Why? Because he didn't tell us to shut the F up, or don't talk to me like that, or put me in my place as a woman. That's old and tiresome and archaic. And that's the frustration that I run into in these circles. But it doesn't stop me from saying what I have to say or feeling the way I feel. I don't think all men are the same. That's unreal. But all of us women, we get thrown into the box too, just like y'all do. So I guess that's the thing. If you're so fair and concerned about what a fellow man is going through, then at least be honest. Don't come up in here with the yah. And he straight started it. Well, I came up here speaking Spanish. No, you didn't. You came up here calling somebody toxic. And if I'd have came up here like that, this would have been a totally different response. And I leave it there. I'm serious this time. I'm done.
And listen, we cool with Nagmeezy. He's welcome anytime. But I have to agree with you, Chocolate. He made Ish look soft. He made him look soft. Like he came here to save his son or something. I was like, ooh, like that was cringe. Like he made him look soft. That's why I wanted
I
to
thought we was beating him up. Right, and taking his school money.
I was like, ooh, that was cringe. All good. No Saint, what say you, white man? No Saint fell asleep. All right, guys. This was a doozy. I really aimed for 2 hours. We're at 4 now.
I mean, it was about religion.
I know. And let me
No
tell you,
Saint got a lot of. I just want to say something, Jen, about No Saint. No Saint must have a. He has a lot of patience. Just sitting around, hanging around all these hot-blooded ethnics. He must have stories for
He
days
is
and days.
COINTELPRO, y'all. He is COINTELPRO.
COINTELPRO.
He's used to listening,
listen, no Saint,
eavesdropping. That's what he does.
no Saint fell asleep an hour ago, y'all. No Saint fell asleep an hour ago. Trust me. He's not even there right now. He's not even there.
Over there on call that. Yeah, I mean, one of them called one a feminist, and another one, the Puerto Rican one.
Why the voice, Harad?
Puerto Rican. The
I tell
Puerto
you,
Rican
Johnson
one.
was insane. It was insane, Johnson. And the
Puerto
bald head one,
Ricans. The Puerto Ricans.
And then the bitter Negro said,
exactly.
You know, one of the Farrakhan guys.
follower, the Farrakhan follower. He said some choice thing.
The one in the bow tie, you know, the bean pie.
Exactly.
You know them guys, they sell the pies.
Like, I'm tired of.
Jay, you wrong. You're wrong for that.
Boss can't be reassigned. I'm tired of the colors.
Not colors. Okay, good night. I can't with y'all. I'm not even dealing with it. Like, good night, colors.
I just want to say one thing about this whole situation. I just want to say this whole thing about one situation. Yeah. On a serious note. This is for everybody on the panel, and this is for everybody, you know what I mean, in the chat. Earlier, Jen and I were talking about the dynamics between, you know, men and women in these spaces in society. We were talking about Black women and Black men personally. You know what I mean? We had some, you know what I mean, differences of opinion on certain things. I'll call them that. But the point of the matter is this. Both sides of the fence have their issues, and both sides, just at the end of the day, we can agree both sides want to be visible. Both sides want to be heard. Both sides want to be respected. And the best way to respect each other sometimes, you know what I mean? The best way to respect each other sometimes is to treat it like a dance. Communication is often treated like a dance. And a lot of times, if men take the lead and create an energy where the woman can follow freely and feel safe within the follow, then the communication most times is smooth. Now, if both sides are coming with combative energy and a woman does not feel safe, then she, most likely will either lash out or retreat. Now, on these panels, a lot of the guys, myself personally, I try not to be combative with women. I try to help create an environment and an energy where women feel safe, where they feel that they can speak their opinions, and also expressing that, the respect should be mutual. All I'm saying here is this, man. You know, as men, a lot of times we have to be cognizant, and sometimes we just have to step back, let them say what they need to say, and then we clarify that they've finished, let their passion go forward, and then we go forward and we either choose to engage respectfully, or you can disengage. You can leave the conversation. You have a choice also. But let's respect differences of opinion, but let's not fall into the idea of tagging each other with all of these just really ugly ideas that surround the internet. Feminist, misogynist, misandrist, all that stuff. Let's just talk to each other like people, and that's it.
Okay. So with that said, guys, we are gonna close. This was a fucking good one. Y'all better come back tomorrow. I mean, talk about religion again. This was good.
No, man. We're gonna do something light.
I just listen.
Play dodgeball on this bitch or something like.
Let me just give credit to everybody on the panel for holding me down and holding themselves down, because there was a lot of things that were said tonight that could have made people flip fool quite easily, and we all held it down. Okay, I know I could have flipped after hearing certain things said, but I was like, okay, all right, now I'm gonna be the grown gen today. Okay, so thank you guys immensely. Tristan, I don't know how you're gonna dismiss this class, Lord.
I'm just gonna.
First of all, I got almost 50 people in this bitch. I better have the likes and subscribes to match. If you want to support the show, Cash App on the Block with Jen, or the Super Chat. If you're catching a replay, then it's on the Block with Jen, Cash App. Thank you for being here tonight. I know it's late and I still see 50 of y'all watching. So thank you. Mwah. Thank you for being here. Tristan, take it away.
Hey, Tristan, please, you got to do the quote with the minister for me too before you go.
Okay, I got you. I think I gotta find it now because you was on one panel and I had them remove it.
We ain't got time for you to find Farrakhan. We know. Salute, Alonzo. I'm gonna give Tristan a big screen.
Oh my god! All right, I'm a beta cuck it. All right, I'm gonna be a beta cuck. Dear women, we see you, we hear you, we are sorry. From the men. That's it. I love you all. Class dismissed.
You need to be quiet.
No, we're not. We ain't gonna end it like that. Say that again, Tristan. You ain't gonna fuck with me. Say that again, Tristan.
Oh my. Dear women, we see you, we hear you, we are sorry, the men.
Thank you.
I love you all. Class dismissed.
Bye, guys.
Good night.
Good night. This was a great one. Ooh, these shows are getting better and better and better. And it's because of y'all. I couldn't do this without you. If you're here for any strange reason, still hit that like and subscribe for Mama. If you're catching a replay, please talk about the show. Leave me a comment in the comment section too. I don't care if it's a happy face, a thumbs up, whatever. It helps me with the algorithm. All right, guys, enjoy the rest of your evening. Thank you for rocking out so damn late. I know it is late on the East Coast. Much love, mucho amor. Don't forget, you guys can be on this panel too, okay? I welcome people. I welcome everybody. You guys can also. All right, come on over to Death Row. If you're tired of going to the other panels and they don't let you speak and they're disrespectful, you may get disrespected here too, but with love. All right, guys, good night. Woo, that was a good one.